Welcome to the hook. I love these glasses. What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the hook. I'm hosting today. It's kind of weird. I'm Adam. To my right, Dennis Fithian. And to my left, Nick Leach. Guys, how are you doing today? Dennis, I'll start with you.
I'm doing good. I feel like...
a gangster?
Well, what did Cade say? He looked into the camera and said, "Hey, Detroit, I'm with you, man. We're going to ride." Something like that.
Okay. Nick, give me your impression.
I feel like I should be on a golf course right now, number one, with it being 90 degrees outside. But he looked right in that camera. He said, "Detroit, I'm all in. And I'm all in on the hook today. Let's get it."
Hey, I like that. I like that. All right, well, let's just get into it. We're going to start off with Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell coming out with some interesting praise about Jeff Okudah in training camp, saying he is that guy. He's a bad dude. Dennis, I'm going to start with you. With all the reports of Jeff Okudah having such a great training camp, are you concerned, one, with how the offense is performing so far to start training camp, and two, do you think this is Jeff Okudah's breakout season?
Well, I'll go with Okudah first. I think this is good news. These are the kind of things that you want to hear if you're a Lions fan. You know, a guy that was a number 3 pick overall last year, and he struggled. We know that corners take a while to get on their feet and get going, and actually that's the position group that takes the longest to acclimate in the NFL. So you knew there was going to be a little of that. Plus, they didn't have much of a pass rush. You didn't have many guys around him last year. So all of those things, it added up to him struggling. So to hear in a second year that in training camp he's turning heads and he looks good and he's earning praise from the new head coach, that's good news. If I was predicting before it all started, and I did, I think that the wide receivers having issues, dropping the ball, lack of separation, not being in tune with a quarterback that they've barely worked with here, and they don't really have any synergy with the whole unit, you know, when you think about it. You know, and Perriman's a new guy, so's Williams. I mean, Cephas is the lone guy. They got a rookie coming in that they're counting on, and 2 other guys that were free agents, so I think that's to be expected.
Nick, Jeff Okudah, breakout season, and number 2, and Dennis kind of touched on it, is the concern with the offensive side of the ball.
I mean, one, with the defense, I don't understand how the entire defense as a whole doesn't have a breakout season. I mean, you go back to what Aaron Glenn said in the offseason when he got hired for the job, is like, you watched film on this Detroit Lions team last year, and they were confused. They looked lost the entire time they were out there under Patricia, and so I expect the whole defense itself to rebound. We know there's a lot of good pieces out there with Trey Flowers, Jamie Collins at linebacker. I expect Armani Oruwariye to have a Pro Bowl type season this year. I think he has that type of skill level, and I think it's only going to help Jeff Okudah as well.
Well, here's my first. I'll start with my concern. The Detroit Lions have one of, if not the worst receiving corps in the NFL. So to get high praise in training camp that Jeff Okudah is performing really well, honestly, it doesn't excite me. Like, you should be dominating Brashard Perriman. You should be dominating Tyrell Williams. You should be pushing around a rookie wide receiver. Like, this is nothing that has me head over heels for Jeff Okudah. I think he has everything it takes to become an elite cornerback in the NFL. Having said that, I'm more concerned with how shitty the offense looks. I don't care that Aaron Glenn is doing a pretty good job on the defensive side of the ball in training camp. I don't care that Anthony Lynn is saying, "Hey, we need more time with these guys. It's only 7 days in." Like, this is what you're going to get during the regular season. The team cannot move the ball downfield effectively, let alone consistently. So my concern is that I might be getting fool's gold with Jeff Okudah right now in training camp, and that's very frustrating because he was the number 3 overall pick, like you said, Dennis. So you expect a number 3 overall pick to produce number 3 overall results. So I'm not too excited about this. I know Dan Campbell's really a rah-rah guy, and I'll give Okudah this. He's a borderline great open field tackler. He can really tackle really well. Whether or not he can shut down an opposing team's number 1 is yet to be seen. But again, can he be very good in the league? Yes. Can he be elite? I hope so. But you're doing it against, in my opinion, the 31st or the 32nd worst offense in the NFL. Well, I'm not impressed.
I think just what you said there, you got to put everything into context and take it with a grain of salt. Like, do you not want to hear anything at all about Okudah? It's like, so, okay, yeah, I mean, he can't do anything. He's not going against Devontae Adams yet. He's not going against Allen Robinson. We're not seeing him out there against Justin Jefferson. That's all in front of him here. But to your point, like, maybe it's a dose of reality about the Lions offense and overall your expectations. If you're a Lions fan and you're like, okay, I see Vegas is saying that we're going to win 5 games and I'm tempering my expectations. A lot of that has to do with the lack of explosive players on offense. So, yeah, he can only go out there and do what he's going to do right now.
What confuses me more is that the offensive line is actually pushing against the pass rush that we have so far in training camp. The offensive line has been great. All the reports coming out are how good the offensive line looks for the Lions. And the offense still can't get the ball downfield. The wide receiver still can't make separation. So Jeff Okudah and really the Lions secondary, I hope they don't suffer the way they did last year. I still think they'll be better off than they were last year just because how bad they were. But my goodness, we got to stop with this training camp sucking over every player because the reports are coming out how good they look. Everybody looks good without pads. Everybody looks great when your muscles are showing. But you know what? Until the season starts, I don't want to hear it. I think Jeff Okudah will have a great sophomore season. It ain't going to be all that pretty, though, for the rest of the team.
I mean, well, let me put it to you, Nick. Just when you look at the Lions' offense, if we were all throwing down money right now, I would say that when it comes to the Lions receiver that will lead them in yards, touchdowns, receptions, that's going to be Hockenson. I don't think they really have a bona fide 1 or a bona fide 2 right now. If you told me that the rookie St. Brown would be the number 1 wide receiver, I don't think that's crazy talk. If you told me Cephas, who was a later round pick last year, that he would be the number 1 wide receiver, I don't think that's crazy talk either. So we're talking about a tight end who's going to be a safety valve, for Jared Goff, and he's likely going to be the leading. He's going to get the most targets. He's going to get the most catches. He's going to get the most touchdowns. And what's that going to do for your offense, and what's that going to do for the rest of the guys?
Nick?
Right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, everyone knows Hawk's going to be the number 1 guy, right? He's going to see double teams. You're going to see some of the best nickel corners out there in the league on him. You're also blanketed with the safeties out there. So Hawk's going to be locked down. So Goff can't go. So he's going to have to look to guys like Darren Fells, who I think could be an X factor in this offense. Because you look what he did in L.A. with Gerald Everett and Cooper Kupp on slant angles on the inside. Those are the routes that Jared Goff succeeds most with. And I think you're going to see a lot of that offense here in Detroit. People
really need to understand that if we're in training camp, the defensive line isn't getting a good pass rush. Let's say this offensive line is the real deal, and they'll finish top 6, hell, maybe even top 5 by the end of the year. You're telling me we're 7 days in, they still can't move the football downfield. I'm supposed to be confident that the Lions are going to have a great regular season. How? The guy is stepping back with no pass rush, still throwing interceptions, turning the ball over. Receivers have 3, 4, 5 seconds to make separation, and they can't even do it. I can't buy in. I can't buy into all this hoopla. But here's. Are
you hitting the panic button?
No,
yeah,
not hitting.
Sounded like you're
not hitting the panic button.
To
no, I'm just. I am not sold on the Detroit Lions being X amount better than they were last year.
Well, I don't think anybody is though.
Right?
Oh,
you'd be amazed.
10-7.
10-7.
We have 10-7 sitting right there in the booth.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Art.
And
Go
that's
ahead.
right. Let's go. Right, Fish? Lions Super Bowl 2022.
You guys are the reason why I contemplate killing myself at night. People like you.
You guys realize we're going to LA twice, right? We're playing the Rams regular season, and we're gonna go to LA again for the Super Bowl. Just so you guys know.
No, Fish.
LA twice, not
Fish.
once, twice.
Fish, no.
No?
Just no. It's not gonna happen. It's impossible. But
well, yeah, not with that attitude.
Well, with my attitude, we'll actually get somewhere in life. Anyways, my question for both of you: what is your measurement of success for Jeff Okudah this season? Is it going to be the amount of turnovers he creates? Is it going to be? Are you going to go based on the PFF rankings? He was ranked, I believe, he had a defensive rating of 42.5 last season. It was pretty damn near the bottom.
That's not good.
It's not good at all. Granted, he was hurt, and he had some moments. He had a 30-week stretch where he was a top 7 corner based on PFF rankings. But that was only a 3-week stretch. 17-game season this year. What are you looking for or out of Jeff Okudah this year for you to walk away at the end of the season like, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. We're going somewhere. I'll start with you, Nick.
All right. I mean, I look at one of the most important matchups every single year. It's against the Green Bay Packers, right? So you've got arguably the best receiver in football with Devontae Adams. We saw what Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins did to Okudah early in the year last year, and he's going to face both those guys again this year. So now you're looking at that as like, okay, he didn't even pass the eye test last year. I mean, you watched all these games, and he struggled. He got burnt downfield numerous times. So I look for him this year as, can he at least have one good game against Devontae Adams? Because you know Adams is going to have games. And let's say maybe he locks him down, keeps him under 100 yards and maybe 4 or 5 catches. Like, to me, like, those games are going to be the one that matter for Jeff Okudah this season.
Dennis?
Yeah, I'll buy that. You see Devontae Adams twice. You see Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen twice. And you see Allen Robinson twice. If he ends up in a couple of those games, you're like, hey, he's putting him out on Okudah Island. And, these guys are blanked in the first half. That's the kind of, you're hoping you see a little bit of that, and he flashes, of course, a lot more than he did in his rookie year. I also think it's married up. I know that it sounds a little bit like a cop-out, but it gets married up. You can see him right here, coming up and undercut that one and get the pick. That was Hopkins that he was on right there, the best wide receiver in the league. You do have to marry it up with the defense overall. Like, if the Lions, who didn't have very good pass rush last year, you look at the statistics, only the Vikings in the NFC had a worse sack total. If you look at the Pro Football Focus numbers, who they put in, they include quarterback pressures. The Lions were 20th, still not great there, but Trey Flowers only played 7 games. So if you're telling me you get a healthy Trey Flowers and the Aquaras, and they're out there and they're getting a push up front and they're collapsing the pocket a little bit, I think that you could see Okudah not just take a small step, but he can take a giant step forward. And you draft, if we're just talking about a guy that was a first rounder, you say, we're hoping this is a guy you're hoping that's a flat out game changer. If you're taking him,
he's got to be a Jalen Ramsey. He's got to be a Darrelle Revis. You don't take him at number 3 and he doesn't become that.
That's the point.
So that unfortunately is the price tag and the standard he has on himself because of where he was taken. Whether you like it or not, that's just the reality. Having said that, I think at the end of the season, if we see a few more turnovers, we see him start becoming a leader, which I think he already is. He's starting to become a leader on the defensive side of the ball. I'd be really happy to see that. I think he's one of the highest, he's one of the most complete characters on that defensive side of the ball right now for the Detroit Lions, so we'll see where that goes. But speaking of the NFC North and the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions, when we come back from the break, we are going to discuss the entire NFC North, its outlook for the upcoming season, where we think the teams will fall, and how we think the Lions will fall, and all of that. We'll do that right after the break.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We're recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10 and a half months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
a graduate of Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Since 1919, Coast has pursued one mission: to make the working professional's job safer and life easier. Today, Coast lights are a favorite among tradesmen, women, and outdoor enthusiasts, DIYers, and first responders, and more. Visit coastportland.com and use code WSN20 for 20% off your purchase. They stand by their products and back them up with a lifetime warranty. Buying for the whole crew? Sign up with our Coast crew to take advantage of special discounts and early access to new products and more. Again, that's 20% off. Use code WSN20. You can get cool lights like this one. If I can figure out the power
Struggling
button.
there,
Fish.
Fish.
I still can't figure out the power button. Is it on the top?
I think you gotta lick it.
I don't think
You'll
it's
get
on the
there
top.
one day, Fish.
I'm gonna
Almost
figure
there.
out with this power button on Coast. It is on the bottom. There it is.
Hey.
You can get cool lights like this one.
Thanks, Fish.
Look, it's Coast Portland.
right.
I love this light.
All right, Fish.
Can I take
I
this
want
home
one
with
of
me,
those.
Adam?
What's up, Fish?
Can I take this home with me?
Yeah.
I still can't figure out how to get this thing off.
All right. Anyways.
There we go.
He's
Got
gonna
it
be
off.
laying in bed.
Going into the break, I had mentioned the NFC North, and we're going to break it down. And I'm going to start with you, Nick. I gave Dennis the floor last time. I'll start with you. First, give me your overall predictions for each team. I want overall record for the Packers, Vikings, Bears, and the Detroit Lions.
I mean, I feel like this one should be pretty easy, straightforward. Packers are going to win the NFC North. That's Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. As much as I hate Aaron Rodgers, you won't find anyone that hates Aaron Rodgers more than I do. But what he's done speaks for himself. I mean, he's unbelievable. I have them going 12-5 this year.
Okay.
Pretty easy schedule for them. Like I said, you got one of the best receivers in football, Devontae Adams. You got Aaron Jones as your running back. I mean, that's you got a full package there in Green Bay. So there's not really much more to talk about with them. We've all seen how good they are. Vikings. This is I think a lot of people expect them to be more competitive this year. I know they got started off to a slow start. I believe they started off 0-5 last year and then finished maybe winning 5 out of 6 games. But when your guy at QB is Kirk Cousins, who's got a career record of 51-2, and then 25-21 in Minnesota, you're always going to be hovering right there around 500. So I expect the Vikings to go 8-9 this year. I just don't think Kirk Cousins has what it takes to get them over the hump and really compete with Green Bay for the NFC North. The team that I think will actually finish in the bottom of the division this year is not the Detroit Lions, but the Chicago Bears. And a lot of people say...
Congratulations, Art. You're not 4th, you're 3rd. Wow. Wow, we're going places.
Stop.
We're going places.
Let the man speak.
A lot of people think you look back at that defense for Chicago, right? Like, how good is that defense? But, I mean, on paper, they were 14th in points against last year and then 11th in yards against. So, like, that's not any astounding numbers. And when your offense is as bad as the one there in Chicago, I know we were talking about the Lions offense, but I think Chicago may even have even bigger problems than we do. You got Andy Dalton, you're getting ready to trot out there in week 1. Good luck with that. I think you'll see Justin Fields by the time the second half rolls around. But I think it's hard for a guy like Justin Fields to come into the NFL and be ready to succeed. It's not really that. You don't see that out of Big Ten quarterbacks right away. Usually those guys need a couple years to kind of learn the systems and learn the NFL because it is a totally different game. I mean, Big Ten's known for run first type offense. So I don't expect the Bears to be successful whatsoever. And that defense doesn't scare me like it used to. And now this one's for my boy Art, our beloved Detroit Lions.
10-7,
10-7, baby. Start that limo up.
I really hope you're not going there.
Honestly, though, I mean, no one knows. I mean,
I know. I know. Trust me, I know. I have all the answers for everybody at home.
But this is a totally different organization that we're looking at moving forward. You've got players that I believe want to be here now. They want to play for these coaches.
That's right.
You've got player-first coaches in this organization besides ones that feel like they want to act like the players are 3-year-olds. But the biggest X factor, I think, in all this, and I know a lot of the analytics say Jared Goff is a terrible, terrible QB. But this guy is 42-27 in his career. His career completion percentage is 63.4.
That's right.
And in his last year, he had a completion percentage of 67.
Woo.
Matthew Stafford's best completion percentage was in 2015, and it was 67.2. So we're not really that far off if you're looking just based on a completion standpoint.
That's
and
right.
I get, Stafford throws the ball downfield a bit more, but like I believe Joik said on the, or not Joik, Devin Gardner said on the show, winners are going to find ways to win football games, and I believe Jared Goff can do that.
A guy who actually played football said that.
And Jared Goff made it to a Super Bowl.
Ooh.
Okay. You know, I was going to let Dennis go, but I got to kind of like bring people back down to reality here. All right, first of all, in the last 3 seasons, Jared Goff has 41 interceptions.
Okay.
41.
Okay.
People
We're
make
talking,
mistakes.
this guy is competing with Eli Manning with the amount of times he turns the ball over. Having said that, he did play for one of the greatest offensive minds currently in the NFL, Sean McVay, with a very complete and balanced wide receiving core and offensive line. Oh, Cam Akers and Henderson in the backfield last season. So, no. Let me start with Green Bay.
Can I jump on you for a second, Adam? I just it just reminded me listening to you talk, and it's interesting because it's going to be a big shakeup here because my standings are way different than Nick's. So it's great. The team that he has a bottom, I have on the top. But I just listened to Peter King. He had a podcast. I only listened to about 5 minutes last night. He had Matt Stafford on there, and I didn't hear any. I listened to a little bit of the Stafford, but leading in, he says, Peter King, and I'll paraphrase it, but he basically said, Jared Goff's not that smart, and he feels really good having somebody that he can talk offense with. in Matt Stafford. I don't know if that's true, but here's Peter King, and this is not somebody that's set to hyperbole or anything else, but he put it that Goff was like, it was a pupil, it was a teacher pupil situation, and now that Sean McVay has Matt Stafford, it's a situation where he can look somebody in the eye and really talk offense. And that stood out to me just last night, just about the X's and O's and where you're at in the huddle and everything else. And like Jared Goff's got a year, maybe 2 years here to show that he can be a franchise quarterback here. I doubt that, but that jumped out to me last night.
Jared Goff had the luxury of having a great head coach in Los Angeles. Having said that, let me start with Green Bay. Green Bay will win the division this year, but they're not going to be as dominant as they have been. 26-6 in the last 2 seasons under Matt LaFleur. Very good. Very, very good. 2 NFC championship appearances, but I think they win it going 11-6. I think the Vikings get a lot better this year. They missed half of their defensive starters last season. That's why they had such a rough start to the season. I think they finished 9-8. Borderline, they're probably a playoff team. And then my favorite team this year to watch is going to be the
Lions?
Chicago Bears.
Oh.
The Chicago Bears are going to make a move around week 2 or week 3, and they're going to bring on Justin Fields. Now, I think Justin Fields in this entire draft class has the highest IQ and character intangibles out of everybody that was drafted this year, including Trevor Lawrence, who I am very high on. Having said that,
Agree.
I think the Bears also go 9-8. I think this is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL this season. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think the Packers barely sneak out. I could see the Bears and the Vikings potentially winning 10 games. I have them winning 9 each. And then, of course, Art's favorite team, the team that's done nothing but shit on themselves for 60 years, the Detroit Lions. Let me tell you what the Detroit Lions are going to do. They're going to win anywhere from 3 to 6 games. They'll be lucky.
God.
They will be lucky to win 6 games. I'll tell you why. They have the 6th hardest schedule. Somehow, they finished 4th last season, dead last in the division, and they still came out with one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. Blows my mind. Having said that, they open up at home to San Francisco. They'll get walloped. Then they follow up Monday night trip to Green Bay. They'll get walloped. Oh, wait. What's next? Wait, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, who are absolutely going to run fucking circles around the Detroit Lions. It's not even close. You're already 0-3. I could make the argument they may not win a game till Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
I could easily make that argument.
Well,
but I'm not
you're
here to
not,
completely
'cause
shit
they're
on the
gonna go
Lions.
10-7.
I think they win anywhere from 3 to 5 games. Potentially maximum 6 if everything goes right. I think they'll have a really good streak pre and post bye. They play the Eagles, they have a bye week, then they play the Steelers. I think they win both of those games. I think they'll have a good time there. I think they're a sure lock to win against the Bears on Thanksgiving, and that is probably it. That's it. That's all I'm giving you. Maybe the Broncos.
Okay.
The Lions are shit.
We'll see.
They're not going to be able to move the ball down the field. Their only hope of winning football games is going to be controlling the clock, running the ball down every team's throat, and not playing from behind. But you know what happens when you don't have a very good defense, you don't have a very good offense, you tend to be behind throughout the game. You know what happens when you're behind? You have to throw the ball. You know what Jared Goff is throwing to? He's throwing to a rookie wide receiver, Cephas, who has proven nothing in camp yet. He can't even get separation against the Lions secondary. I'm supposed to expect him to get separation against better teams?
Can I
Go ahead, Art.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask you, who hurt you?
Nobody hurt me.
Who hurt you? You are so... Just be optimistic. That's all you got to do. It's all you... I mean, look
I
at
am
Nick.
optimistic. Here, I'll give you my optimism.
Here we go.
I'll give you my optimism. The Detroit Lions have the potential in 2 seasons, with the next 2 having 2 first-round picks. I think they could easily reshape the whole NFC North and become division contenders for a long time, given that one, Jared Goff actually turns out to be something. If he's not, they have to rebuild all over again. It's not going to be pretty. And number 2, Dan Campbell is more than just a coach and a motivator. He's actually a pretty good coach. Like, there's so much riding on this rebuild. You guys don't understand. If you really think Dan Campbell's going to walk in and make this team a 10-win team, just because he goes around and strokes people, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
The Detroit Lions are deficient, and they are voided of fucking talent. It's not even a debate. They have easily the 31st or the 32nd best roster in the NFL. It's actually horrible.
You know how we want you to get in the limo? Well, can we run you over with the limo?
You guys can do whatever you want with me in the limo. It's not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. And I'm sorry to break your hearts, but I got to go here a little bit. I really got to hear Dennis's thoughts, because from what I understood, the Chicago Bears are his division winners. Am I correct, Dennis?
I'll tell you coming up.
Oh, no. I got to hear it now. I'm not going to wait. I am not going to wait.
Gotta go to break, otherwise Sticks
I
gonna
got the
punch
Bears
me.
winning
No.
the NFC North.
You have the Bears?
Thank you.
Chicago
Art,
Bears.
you shut up.
And I'm
I tell
drunk?
you shut up and I tell you what to do. Dennis, please continue.
Yeah, well, taking a look at it, this one part that I have here, this, you know what this is? This is the distraction card. And that's what is on Green Bay. It's a distraction card. They're going to be distracted. Aaron Rodgers all year long was telling his team, hey, you guys suck. My wide receivers suck. I don't want to be with you. I want to be out of Dodge. I hate the front office. I hate the coach. Get me out of here. Here, you can have all the money. You can have all this. Now he's coming back to have one last dance and everything like he thinks he's Jordan here. This is going to blow up in the Packers' face. Now, I think they could still make the playoffs, but they're not going to win 12 or 13 games. And I think the team that you're sleeping on here, down the beginning, it is the Bears. You know what? The Bears weren't all that hot last year, and they made the freaking playoffs.
I believe they started, 5-0?
Yeah.
Or 4-0 or 5-0?
They started well, and you know what? They had Mitch freaking Trubisky as their quarterback, the worst quarterback in the league.
Matt Nagy cost them last season. I was totally against the decision to bail on Mitchell Trubisky. Yes, he wasn't ideal for you, but he was winning you football games. So I thought it was premature. They moved on, whatever. I think they made the right decision in the offseason.
He shot himself in the foot, and they did have Big Dick Nick, so...
Yeah, who turned out to be Small Dick Nick.
Yeah. Well, he's good in short spurts. You need him for a couple games in the playoffs. You need him for the Super Bowl.
They bailed on him too early. They bailed on him when they were 3-0.
But you said it. I think, and you said it correctly. Justin Fields comes in. From what he doesn't have to come in and light everything up. He just has to be better than Foles, and he has to be better than Trubisky, and I think he is. I wanted the Lions to take Fields myself. I understand that starts the clock on Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, and they got an extra year, and they pretty much told everybody when they came in, look, this is a rebuilding year. Don't expect a lot from us. And I think at first everybody was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a rebuild. They got a plan. Maybe this is our next Troy Weaver. But as things go, and it happens when you're a Lions fan, you hear that, and then training camp rolls around, and you're like, hey, it's the NFL. I think we can win 10 games. The Lions don't think they can win 10 games. The Lions know that they're going to win around 5 or 6 games. But just going back, I think the Bears are in a spot here. I think they're the most balanced team in the NFC North, and I'm putting my money on the Chicago Bears.
I love it. What do you have for the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions? I'm very curious.
Yeah, well, I do think the Packers will finish in there in the second spot. They'll probably get to double-digit wins, but I'll take the under, whatever their Vegas number is.
So you're probably going to take them
12.
at 10 wins. I have them at 11 winning the division.
Yeah,
I think division's going to be tough this year.
I haven't pinned down the number, but I went under.
Yeah, it'll be 10 then. I think they're set at 10
because
and a half.
of the distractions with Rodgers. I've seen how that can work against teams in the past. And the Vikings are great offensively, but I think, the defense, I know you talked about them getting hurt and Mike Zimmer, and this is a bias that I probably should get over if I'm really going to make the selection. But last year I was sitting there at home during the pandemic, and the Vikings were taking on the Saints. And my friend called me, and I was in a huge week in fantasy football, and he had Alvin Kamara. And I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm watching that game, and he says, I'm thinking, just hold him to, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, I'll be all right. Alvin Kamara.
6 touchdowns?
Had 6 touchdowns in the first half. 500 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, some guys for a season. And I'm just watching that Vikings defense, and I know they were decimated, but you look, a lot of those guys are coming back. They had all of those rookies that they brought in for the aging core the year before, and I know they got a lot of experience out there. Yeah, a lot of experience watching Alvin Kamara run into the end zone. I don't believe in the exotic blitzes of Mike Zimmer anymore. I don't believe in that Viking defense. I don't believe in Kirk Cousins either. So I think Kellen Mond will be the quarterback by midway point there. So I think that actually the Lions could overtake the Vikings, but I have the Vikings third and the Lions.
I like to call Kirk Cousins, I like to call Matthew Stafford Kirk Cousins with a sexier arm. That is my definition for Matthew Stafford. But having said that, we got to go to break. But when we come back, Hall of Fame ceremony this weekend. And there's a football game tonight, which I can't wait for. Having said that, we are going to talk about the 4 guys getting in, 2 of which played in the state. We'll talk about that next here on The Hook on the Woodward Sports Network. Peyton Manning, Alan Faneca, Calvin Johnson, John Lynch, and Charles Woodson. Just to name a few of the people that will be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame this weekend. But we got bigger fish to fry. We got a game tonight. I am so freaking excited. I have been dying for football. I'm not asking for much. I just want football like 6 days a week, 365 days out of the year. I don't want to break from football, but you know what? That's a whole different conversation. I want to talk about these inductees, and they're like I haven't seen this stacked of a draft class, an inductee class in a while. So we're gonna start with the O-line, Alan Faneca, all-time great. I don't want to look over Flores and Nunn and Pearson, but I will. Calvin Johnson, Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning, and John Lynch. Like, I'm gonna start with you, Dennis. I want you to tell me, of the four, give me your ideal inductee. When you look at a Hall of Famer and they check off all the boxes, of the four, which one, A, deserves to be a first ballot, which I think we're all probably going to agree on, and B, where I think we'll disagree on, is who probably shouldn't have been a first ballot Hall of Famer?
So we've got Woodson, Manning, Megatron, and who's the fourth one?
John Lynch.
Oh, John Lynch.
This isn't his first ballot, just to clarify.
Right. Well, Woodson, I think, is the guy that's Woodson's one of the greatest football players that I've ever seen. And, you know, I even if I separate it from Michigan, where he won the Heisman Trophy, he was awesome in the pros, too. And a guy that, when he was awesome with the Raiders, went to the Packers. He could play safety. He could play corner, big plays, won the Super Bowl. Just somebody out there that I think he could play a couple more years. He went back with the Raiders there. But somebody that, you know, everything that you're looking for when you talk about
Defensive Player
college,
of the Year in Green Bay.
Yeah, college or pro player. Just really, when you're talking about the greatest players of all time, I'm going to put Woodson right up there. So, yeah, first ballot, gold jacket, all those things. Him being a local guy doesn't hurt either.
Do you have a problem with Megatron getting in first ballot when players like Terrell Owens were left off? And we all know the reasons why. I still don't agree with them. But how does Calvin's career stack up to a guy that put up the same numbers, was just as dominant?
Yeah, well, I look at it like this. Like, Terrell Owens is a Hall of Famer. Randy Moss, those guys should have been in on the first ballot. I mean, they're better wide receivers. They're just right behind Jerry Rice as the greatest wide receiver. So it was a crime that those guys were left off and weren't first ballot Hall of Famers. But I'm not going to take it out on Megatron, because those guys, for whatever reason, the writers, you know, they had something up their butt or whatever else. Owens, you know, treated him like trash, and Moss, you know, pulled down his pants on him or whatever else. So that's what we know went on there. And, you know, Megatron, a pretty good guy off the field, pretty good guy with the media as well. Those sort of things shouldn't matter. They do matter. But I'm not going to penalize Megatron. I think he's the first ballot. I know that in the NFL, it's different than in baseball. You need like a decade where you're one of the most dominant players. NFL, you can look at a 3-4 year stretch. And for my money, Calvin Johnson, in a 3-4 year stretch, he was either the best or second best wide receiver in the NFL. So Megatron for sure.
He does hold the single season record for most receiving yards. And I am a very harsh voter if I were to vote. Calvin Johnson actually would not be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he didn't own the single season receiving yards record. I would not have him first ballot. I think his overall contribution in big games were limited, if not nothing. You can look back to only the Saints, where they lost in the playoffs, where he actually contributed. And yes, the Saints went on to win the Super Bowl, but that's beyond the point. I am a very harsh grader. I think Charles Woodson is an A1 first ballot Hall of Famer, not even a debate. Peyton Manning for sure. Calvin, I am going to give it to him. He deserves it. Of the three, though, what really shocked me was this glamour and this obsession with Calvin. Like, Calvin was such a great receiver and such a dominant receiver, but we have to keep in mind he did play for the Detroit Lions. Now, am I going to use that against him? No. But this guy, if you want to look at the numbers when he played winning football teams, he had averaged less than 43 yards a game against winning football teams.
Yeah, but
how am I supposed to look at that?
Wasn't the same knock on Stafford, though, that Stafford played bad against those?
Stafford for sure is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, no,
I'm
not saying that by any means. But I'm saying big knock on Stafford was he didn't show up against those teams that had winning records. So I don't know if that's more or less a criticism of Calvin, or if
I think it's a team game, so I'm going to give you that. But this is where I'm going with the Calvin angle. When you look at Calvin Johnson, can we all agree he checks off all the boxes to be a Hall of Famer?
Undoubtedly.
I don't see the difference between being a first ballot or a third ballot. I don't care. I actually don't. I think it's irrelevant that, I was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Although I can see why people pivot and really try to get it. Like Terrell Owens, he was very upset about it. But I'm reserved on Calvin. I think he had a very good career. Unfortunately cut short because of the problems he had with the organization, which we'll talk about next. But Nick, kind of give me your takes on the guys getting in today.
I mean, you look at that list. I mean, so I guess where some of the beef, I see your side of the argument, but at the same time, too, I'm looking at it as, okay, let's say Calvin did go play a year or two for the Raiders or any NFL team. He sat here on this couch and said he would have gone anywhere. But the Lions didn't grant him that. I mean, the Lions haven't been, they had two years while he was here that they had a chance at the playoffs or going deep into the playoffs, and that didn't happen. But most of those teams he was on wasn't very good to begin with. I mean, and you just said it yourself, Stafford's not a Hall of Fame QB. So I think you put Calvin with, let's say you would have put him with Tom Brady like Randy Moss had. Like, no matter what would have happened, he's for sure a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book.
Here's where I'm going to draw the line, and this is why, again, I'm not trying to come off like a jackass to Calvin Johnson. He's the greatest wide receiver in Lions history. So many accolades, single-season record holder for receiving yards, but again, you got to be real. The guy only passed 1,400 yards 3 times in his career. 2 of them happened back-to-back. The year he broke the record and the year prior where he had 1,681 yards. And then he followed that season, the 1964 season, with 1,492 yards. He had a 3-year stretch where he was arguably one of the most dominant receivers we've seen in NFL history. Having said that, I only have 3 real years to look at. The rest are 1331 his second year, 756 his rookie year, 984, 1120, 1077, 1214. In a passing league, come on.
Yeah, but I mean,
Randy Moss and Terrell Owens were putting up beyond numbers. Again, Calvin was so double teamed so many times. He had all these things that would go against him. I totally get it. Played for the Lions. But let's keep in mind, when we're talking about all-time great wide receivers, he deserves to be in the discussion, but he's not at the top 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, I just disagree with your parameters. Moss is the second best wide receiver of all time, so he should have for sure been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Same thing with Owens. So using that against Megatron,
I'm not trying to, but it's frustrating because you look at it. You look at the just pure numbers. Take away their personalities, take away what they won. I don't even care about postseason records when we're talking about wide receivers, because that is such a numbers-based position. It's your production. And I can name 4, 5, even 6 wide receivers in Calvin's time that were just as, if not more, productive.
Yeah, the other thing I look at is that winning really helps. If you played for the greatest show on turf, like Holt and Isaac Bruce, that's going to help you. And for quarterbacks, I think it does penalize you because you are the face of the franchise. You're holding the ball every single time. But, as a wide receiver, it's what can you do? You got Dante Culpepper and John Kitna throwing you the football. You're going to go 0-16. There's only so many things you can do there. But I am a little biased when it comes down to Calvin Johnson, having been front and center down there at Ford Field and seeing him against Cincinnati, not double team, not triple team, 5 guys around him and him, bolting up to the sky and grabbing the ball, being there when he had 327 yards against the Cowboys when that game was lost and people were heading for the stands with 8 minutes to go. The 2011 season, you mentioned him having 200 yards against the Saints. The Lions 3 or 4 times that year were down 20 points. They were down 14 points to the Raiders, and him and Stafford, the hooking up and coming back. A triple team against the Cowboys where he was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. But where it comes back to me is that I remember going to all these training camps down with the Lions when Calvin Johnson was a member of the Lions, and I'd go down there, and you're watching, seeing all right, who stands out? And every time I got off the field, somebody would say, well, what'd you think today? Calvin Johnson stood out. He's a football helmet taller than everybody else out on the field. He's as big as a defensive end. I don't know, did you ever see that picture of him? I think he was repping some kind of car company. He had his shirt off. He was just, I don't know if he was in shorts, but he definitely had his shirt off. He's as big as Ziggy Ansah, 4'3", and to top it all off, I'll give my one last pitch for him. There was a game against the Bears and the Lions. It was in the first quarter, first series of the game. Stafford goes back and just hits Calvin on a little bit of slant. He takes it 80 yards. And you're in the NFL, and you know these guys are all – and the Bears had good defense back then. Peanut Tillman, all of them. And Calvin just made these guys look like boys. And he went down and slammed the ball through the goalpost. And I was just watching that, and I said, I've never seen anything like that in person. This is awesome.
It was special.
This guy's a Hall of Famer.
It was definitely special to watch Calvin. I think we can all agree. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. You want to look at his targets. He was targeted so many times. He had a 55, I believe, or 57% catch rate. Not ideal, but again, his matchups were maybe more difficult than most wide receivers. So I'm not going to hold too much against him. But I got a very hot topic for you guys next, coming out of the break. Jim Harbaugh and the University of Michigan. We'll discuss that after the break.
Welcome to the Call Sam Chopper Shop, where you can win a custom-built chopper while helping our veterans at the same time.
Watch as the Bad Pig Custom team turns this bike into a one-of-a-kind classic chopper.
And when it's finished, we'll be donating the bike to Volunteers of America Michigan to raffle off in support of our vets.
A great cause to give back to those who've given so much.
Watch for Call Sam Chopper Shop episodes on our social media channels and get your raffle ticket today at callsam.com/chopper shop.
The University of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, the football program. I love it. It's such a great topic. We're going to start, first of all, with, is Michigan a football school still, or is it now a basketball program? What is Michigan's reality currently? Nick Leach, I'm going to start with you. Are they a football or a basketball program?
I would call them a solid athletics school. I mean, their baseball team's pretty solid as well, but
such a political answer.
They're not a football school like a lot of people think they are. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, yeah, he's 49-22 in his 6 seasons, but 5 of those 6 seasons that he's been there, he's either stayed the same or ranked lower in the AP standings at the end of the season. I mean, he can't go and win big games. We've seen it. We watched Michigan State beat him last year, and Michigan was favored by what? I think it was 22 points. I mean, this is, and he gets all the praise in the world. He gets all the passes, and I know a lot of the argument is who are you going to get in there that's better? Well, I mean, he's not really doing any. I mean, if you're fine with the Citrus Bowl every year, then fine, keep your guy. But to me, Jim Harbaugh isn't the answer. I know it's like, oh, he hasn't got his QB yet. Well, how many more years are you going to give him until he gets the right QB?
Dennis, is Michigan... We're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh, Nick, so I'm gonna let you finish up your thoughts a little later, but is Michigan a football or basketball program? Or like Nick said, Mr. Political, it's a athletics program.
Well, I mean, that was really nice, Nick. You know, you playing it down the middle. It's blasphemy to say that they're anything but a football school, knowing how much people love the football there and how, you know, you have the biggest stadium and, you know, all the tradition and everything else. But if you're putting the checklist out about winning games, winning the conference, any other measurement, beating your rival, you know, how you do against your rivals, all the important things that you would actually put up there if we were just kicking around. What does it take to really be, whether you're talking about an elite football program or a football school, especially when you look at how the basketball program has performed here. And they've done it not with just one coach, they've done it now with 2, and you could even make the case that what Juwan Howard's done is, he's hit the turbo button here on Michigan with how they're recruiting and just how things look here in the future for them. So, yeah, if you're not an older person that just remembers, you know, just Michigan being everything and how could you even make such a statement, you would say, yeah, of course, you know, they're a basketball school. And it's up to Jim Harbaugh to be able to at least turn it around where people can say, hey, Michigan football is back, but you know that's another discussion. Maybe for another time, like coming up here in a couple seconds.
Well, I do think Michigan is still a football school, regardless of winning accolades, accomplishments. The brand of Michigan solely relies on their football program, so I don't think that'll ever change. Having said that, let's have some fun. Is Jim Harbaugh the guy for Michigan? Nick, you kind of already answered it. And if he's not, what's next? But before you answer, Dennis, I want you to look at the 7 years prior to Jim Harbaugh joining Michigan. They only beat Ohio State one time, and keep in mind it came in a year that Ohio State was 6-7, that they then followed up the following year with Urban Meyer, going 12-0, and the only reason they didn't win a natty was because they weren't bowl eligible because of Jim Tressel's dumbass. Having said that, we look at Michigan in the 7 years with Harbaugh, 51-22. Now, I will not sit up here and say that he's done such a great job, one, with the quarterbacks, two, in the rivalry games. But I am so curious to hear how you feel about Jim Harbaugh, because I kind of have a really good feeling we're probably going to really disagree here.
Yeah, I think the standard for Michigan football, if you're going to talk about them being that brand, if you're going to be talking about that, it's never going to change. Well, you're going to have to win something, and they haven't won the Big Ten. Unfortunately, they do play in the same league as Ohio State, but, I've got nothing but excuses. And it's 6 years now going and on to 7 years, and they've done a lot of nice things. But if you're Jim Harbaugh and you're Michigan and the expectations to be the leaders and the best, you have to go out there and you have to beat your rival. And all of the excuses that you come back with about, well, you know what, Ohio State cheats, or Ohio State's beating everybody. If Notre Dame played at the Big Ten East, they wouldn't be doing anything. Well, you know what? The other rivals in the Big Ten East, they had beat Ohio State. Penn State beat Ohio State. Frickin' Michigan State went on the road and beat Ohio State. So, it's...
Well, let's look
the
at...
first 5 years, let me just tell you this, Adam. In the first 5 years, I was with the group that said, it's disappointing, all those things, but I still think Harbaugh is the best coach for Michigan, because the quarterback position and him seemingly picking the wrong guy every time, that after last year and the frustration of only winning 2 games, I said, if I was in charge, I would have made the move. Now, they didn't, and here we are, so there's no reason for me to cry about it here in August. I will, and I think I just have for the last 2 minutes. But, yeah, I think that he has been the guy, and he is the guy now, but I would have made a move last year and brought somebody else in.
1997 is the last time I can look at you and tell you that Michigan football was really, really good, and that they were the face of college football. 2004 was the last time the team won a goddamn Big Ten championship. So my problem with this side of the argument is, in my opinion, Michigan football hasn't been relevant for the freaking last 20 years. So the standard of, we're Michigan football, we got to win, like that attitude that Jim Harbaugh brought in was a fake reality, because Michigan have been nothing since the year 2000. Nothing.
And yet you're still jocking the brand and saying they're better than a basketball team that's going to the Final Four.
The football brand, it's not negotiable. It is a huge brand. They sell out 110,000 people every single home game. I mean, the brand is the brand. That has nothing to do with the on-field product. The on-field product has been shit. Having said that, under Jim Harbaugh, in the 7 years under Harbaugh, if you could throw that graphic up one more time, Art, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to look past his record, because I feel it's a little faulty too, because he beats down on the good teams. He loses against his rivals. 1-4 in bowl games. So, again, he's not winning the big games at Michigan. But let's keep in mind this Ohio State argument. He walked into Ohio State twice. And when they lost, double overtime, ranked number 3 in the nation, and they were ranked number 2 on the last game of the season when they lost to Ohio State. It's not like Michigan or Michigan State or Penn State where they were ranked out of the top 10, top 15, top 20. They just showed up and pulled off an upset midway into the season. We're talking the last season of the game. Twice under Jim Harbaugh, he's had them in the top 3 in the national college rankings. On top of that, which drives me even more nuts.
One of those games, just the overtime
won, and I agree with it. But in the 7 years prior to Jim Harbaugh, Michigan reached the highest they ever reached, and the AP poll was number 8. Number 8, and they had the amazing year under Brady Hoke. Let's all, oh my God, 11-2. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Well,
11. They only reached 8. They've been. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm saying this. Because I'm really not trying to defend Jim Harbaugh, but in the 7 years he's been there, he's been ranked in the top 7 4 times. Michigan hasn't even been in the top 10 twice in the 7 years prior. Like, the guy came in and actually elevated your standards to the point where you can bitch and complain about him. But I'm not for the argument that Jim Harbaugh isn't getting it done. I look at circumstances, right? He walks in. Who shows up? Fucking Urban Meyer. Probably the 3rd greatest college coach in the history of college football. It's not even a debate how great he is. Walks in, builds a super program. 8 of their last 9 years, they've won double-digit wins. They've dominated the Big Ten. They recruit like an SEC team. Again, isn't it Jim Harbaugh's job to vanquish and defeat Ohio State? Of course it is. But, like, a fucking reality check. The only reason they haven't won double-digit wins for the last 10 years is because of a goddamn pandemic. where they couldn't even play 10 games and they finished 7-1. So again, I don't want to sit up here and defend Jim Harbaugh, but really, like, in my opinion, Michigan fans are so spoiled because they've been nothing for 30 years that now that this guy shows up and says, hey, I want to bring us back to what we all remember we were in the 90s and the 80s where we were dominating Ohio State. Cool. Like, yeah, I would love for Michigan to do that. But you know what? They can't. They're not doing it right now. And I don't think you bring in any other coach that can turn it around. I think Michigan's in a cycle just like Ohio State was in the 90s where they just couldn't beat Michigan. Michigan only lost to Ohio State one time in the 90s. And that's what's happening in the 2010s. And it's bleeding over into the 20s. Michigan just can't beat Ohio State right now. There's a cycle going on where Ohio State is just a more dominant program. Am I wrong for saying this?
I mean,
Yes. Yes.
How?
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I mean,
Nick. Go ahead. I'll let Nick.
Look what happened last year. Michigan State. I mean, that is the needle in the haystack, I guess, for you. But, like, Michigan State had no business being in that
I agree
football
100%.
game.
They won with a Kroger worker at
And-
quarterback.
And
I call Rocky Lombardi a
that's
Kroger
been
worker.
The issue with this program is Michigan State's been able to go out and beat you several times with the Messiah here at UofM. So it's just like, it's almost like he's getting in his own way. But like, your job, you're supposed to come in, like you said, that brand of football, Michigan football, that's a huge brand. It's known worldwide. You're supposed to be able to take recruits from Ohio State. You really think that's happening?
No, of course not.
0%.
And
chance.
I agree on this. But it comes with a huge caveat, as Darren McCarty likes to say. Michigan football isn't what they think they are.
Well, the same thing with
and
Texas.
They need to accept
The
Texas. Yes, even
the Texas
USC.
of-
Like you haven't been for the longest time. And the fan expectations of holding Jim Harbaugh's ass straight to the fire, it makes me laugh, actually, because you could have put anybody in there under this Ryan Day and Urban Meyer cycle, and they would have produced much worse results with Michigan. I'm sorry. Like, is anybody feeling sorry for Orgeron or any of these guys who are getting it done in the SEC? No. They're going against fucking Nick Saban in Alabama.
Absolutely.
Like, it's Jim Harbaugh's job to get it done against Ohio State. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for him. But, Dennis, you told me I was dead wrong. I don't think it's a reality.
Well, I don't know which way you want it. I mean, you're coming in saying Michigan's not the program you want, but let's give them a break because
I'm
they
not
can't
giving
beat
them a
Ohio
break.
State.
I'm giving them a reality check.
And then you're
haven't
talking about,
been.
well, they've been top three. They gave up, all of that. Ohio State's better, but you can't give up 62 points to them. And you know what? When you have a defensive coordinator, then I know is going to play press defense, and I know is going to stand out and leave all of his guys on an island. And Michigan State knows it, and the broadcasters are saying it, and Jim Harbaugh's just standing over there not doing anything. That's on the head
I'll give
coach.
you that. I think Jim Harbaugh's one of his biggest faults during his time at Michigan was not firing Don Brown 4 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
they had a really good defense his first 3 seasons, but after that, they became shit. Like, Ohio State, all they did was run crossing routes against Michigan, and they would get 20, 30-yard, 40-yard plays the whole time. Like, it was fucking common sense.
And that's on the head coach.
And it's
the
on the head coach.
And the other thing is, and this is the biggest mystifier of all, is that Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback at Michigan, was pretty good, and played in the pros for all those years, and then went out and had Andrew Luck, and then had Colin Kaepernick in the pros, and went to the Super Bowl and all that. And you thought, hey, this is a guy that can develop a quarterback, and he's going to know what's happening. Well, he got Jake Rudock. And then he had a 5-star in Shea Patterson, and we just go through all of them from Wilton Speight. And then he finally he was like, okay, he's going to develop his 2 guys, and Dylan McCaffrey, and he's going to have Joe Milton. And he ran one of them off, and, Milton, whatever you want to say, he wasn't anything close to being this, God
prospect,
passer
yeah.
and running guys over and anything else. So you're kind of just left here like,
What the
all
hell?
right, so sure,
Let
you
me
can
ask
lose
you a
with
question
him,
then.
you
Let
can
me
win
ask you a
with,
question.
you can lose with him, you can lose without him. Like,
Well, let me ask you a question then. Jim Harbaugh, during his 7 years in Michigan, it's not even a debate. He really brought Michigan to a higher level than they were at previously. And this expectation
That's true.
And this expectation of we need to beat Ohio State. We were saying that the 7 years prior to Jim. Like, Michigan has always struggled with it. And that's where, like, I don't want to come to Jim's defense because I think he's underdelivered. 1, based on his recruiting classes, and 2, again, I want a head coach to walk in and say, we're going to take down everybody.
Let me try to boil it down one more time, and then I'll let Nick go.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry for taking up so much
No,
time.
go ahead. This is good.
But over, 50 years, really since 1969, Bo came in, and, all the way to really 2007. So that's damn near 40 years over, what we're talking about. Almost every year, I thought Michigan, you can look, and I know they didn't win a national championship only in 97. And you look at the Big Ten championships, whatever you want to say that's worth. in the offseason and then going into the season, most of those seasons from 1969 to 2007, I thought Michigan, you could say, hey, there were a play or two, you want to say 3 away from winning this game or winning that game.
Couldn't
and
we
really
say that, though, about Harbaugh's first 4 seasons?
Well, you could say it about 2016.
Well, they showed up. And
if
again,
you want to say the trouble with the snap.
Out of the first 4 seasons, the snap at MSU was super unfortunate. But he went into the last game of the season with a chance to be in the title game. He did it twice. He showed up number 2.
He got wasted in some of those games.
In one of them. It was they lost 31-10, and then they lost in double overtime. The 60-point
the double overtime game, they haven't.
I agree 100%. They've been garbage against Ohio State. Yes,
they got one game where they were within double figures.
He did deliver, and he showed up into the final game of the season. If we beat our rivals, you're not only in a Big Ten title game, you're probably in the Natty. And he did that twice. Something none of the coaches prior could ever say.
I want more.
I do want more too.
Okay.
So I'm going to agree with you there.
All right, I want more.
Nick.
I mean, he's being paid like he's won a national championship, though. I think that's one of the issues you have to look at is he's being paid, but he's still not delivering. And I think that's why, like a lot of fans you see in the comments here too, is like they're ready for him to be done and over with. It's kind of been a dog and pony show, especially like, yeah, going to this recruit's house, climbing his tree, staying that. Like, what is that? That's equated to nothing. At the end of the day, I know we're big on this network of like, do you have a championship? Like, yeah, Stafford and Calvin got us to the playoffs. Whoop-de-doo. It doesn't mean at the end of the day, you don't have a national championship to speak for. And I think since he's been here, Ohio State has 2.
Fair enough. Well, when we come back from the break, we all know Cade Cunningham was drafted by the Pistons, but a lot of NBA news. Specifically, one I really can't wait to touch on is the Los Angeles Lakers and their acquisition of Russell Westbrook. We'll talk about it right after the break. Thanks for tuning in to The Hook with myself, Adam, Dennis Fithian, Nick Leach. This is Woodward Sports.
Do you know why realtors love using Hall Financial as a lender? Because of our commitment to speed and service. We have nearly 4,000 5-star reviews already. Call today, 248-308-5000, or go to callhallfirst.com.
Bridge Street Exchange, downtown Fenton. I'm trying to find me a shirt. Ooh, look at these swimming shorts. What are you doing over there, Stick?
I'm trying to find me a drink. Ooh, look at these bonfire bitters.
Ready for summer.
Let's go.
Cade Cunningham going first overall in the NBA draft. The Detroit Pistons have a future for probably the next 10, 15 years where they're going to be contenders. You know what? We got to do it. You're right. Got to put on the buffs. Can't talk about Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons if you don't have the buffs on. Having said that, guys, I want first your initial reaction. One to Detroit selecting Cade Cunningham, but more importantly, where do you feel this sets up the team over the next 10 to 15 years? If this guy hits, in my opinion, you are a contender in the East for the next 10 to 15 years. Dennis, what does Cade's arrival mean for the Detroit Pistons?
Well, I feel like I've taken up most of the airtime, so I want to cede my at least starting question over to the other side of the table.
Nick?
I mean, I think the biggest part is what happened draft night. Like, he wants to be here, and that speaks volumes. He learned the culture. He said he was listening to Detroit music. So, and give credit to Troy Weaver. I know everyone in Detroit has. You got a guy like Sadiq Bey here. You got Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart. Like, you're looking at a lineup that could be one of the youngest lineups in NBA history night one. I think it's easily with the East. You could be a play-in team undoubtedly, because I've talked about it for a year and a half now, is that this is what, after watching what they did last year, is you need a true scorer, that a guy you can get the ball to that you know can put up points. And I believe you have that now with Cade Cunningham. Now it's about filling in those pieces around him. You saw it with Kelly Olynyk. Like, that's a huge signing for this organization. So I think they're going to really begin to take on an identity that could last here for 6, 7, 8 years, like we saw with the Going to Work Pistons.
Dennis?
No, we're a couple years ago. We're a couple years away from Stick driving us down Woodward to the
LCA and watching championship games.
In the parade, you know, he was telling me how he was in on the first one and how he had all access and how awesome it was. And I agree that it was really awesome, but I got to give Troy Weaver, got to give him the props that are due right now. So far, this thing has been perfect. And, of course, getting Cunningham, you had to be lucky in the draft. I mean, Troy Weaver didn't go in there and rig the lottery. I don't think he did. If he did, that was sweet, too. We got, Cade Cunningham. So, from that standpoint, it's pretty awesome. And you know what? I'm going to get one of those 2 jerseys for sure. I'm in on that. But really, you just go back to his first year. Like, it's hard to get first-round draft picks to hit. And getting Isaiah Stewart, when, they made that selection, you're looking at it, you're saying, really? All right, Sadiq Bey, shooter from Villanova. But both of these guys are nice pieces to have on a team, on a playoff team moving forward. He did that. I'd even put Saban Lee in the equation there as somebody that could be a piece for them. And then I go to the Jeremy Grant signing. I didn't think that was all that special. But you know what? That was a special signing. So far, he has had the Midas touch. Now, how that continues on and what we did Troy Weaver did with Olynyk and Garza, and I think Isaiah Livers is going to be a 2.0 Sadiq Bey, and I think Garza could be a nice little offensive piece for the Pistons there coming off the bench. This thing looks awesome and what's going on right now. So I think going back to it, your question here was just what do I think Troy Weaver has been doing? A+ so far.
Definitely got to give Troy an A+. They've done good work. Cade Cunningham needs to hit in order for all this to be put together. I think they're contenders in 3 to 5 years. And I mean like serious contenders. Mm-hmm. There's still work to do with the roster. You still need to see what Isaiah Stewart comes out to be. You still need to see if Sadiq Bey can turn into a kind of a, maybe even a Klay Thompson. That's probably your ceiling for him.
Yeah, he's got to become an elite shooter, right?
There's a lot of questions still, but the fact that Detroit finally has a ball-handling scorer at guard, it means everything for the organization. We'll talk a little bit later about our expectations for them for the upcoming season. But there was breaking news that I wasn't able to touch on, and you guys obviously haven't been able to touch on it yet, is the Los Angeles Lakers going after my favorite player, Russell Westbrook. I'll get started with the move. I think it's hilarious. I didn't know the Lakers were interested in taking for the upcoming season. I didn't know they were going to tank, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of this move. I think it's hilarious. It's time to accept, in my opinion, who Russell Westbrook is. So I'm going to give you guys probably a 2-minute rant of what I think Russell Westbrook is and why I think this move doesn't work. And I'm going to start with my favorite one, which is he's every analytical nerd's dream. He checks off all the boxes. He takes care of all he fills up every stat sheet. Every single little thing you want Russell Westbrook to do, he does it for you. But then again, he has the second worst effective shooting field goal percentage in NBA history. He's considered an all-time great. But Mr. All-Time Great is a terrible three-point shooter, coming off a 60% free throw shooting season. He's declined in field goal and free throw percentage over the last 5 seasons. And one of my favorite stats I found today was, Dennis, I'm going to surprise you here.
All right.
In the history of the NBA playoffs, where do you think Russell Westbrook lies in offensive ratings?
Offensive,
offensive rating. Yep, offensive rating.
Yeah,
in the playoff and postseason history, where do you think he ranks of the, let's say, 250 players that qualify for it?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very good. I'll say 100.
Nick?
I already know the answer to this question.
Nick already knows. Unfortunately, I spoiled the beans. He's not even ranked in the top 250 in offensive rating in NBA postseason history. Congratulations, guys. You got a point guard that'll coast ride you through the regular season, get you about 45, 50 wins. Everything will come great. And then come postseason, can't shoot, can't create space for you, going to take rebounds from your big men, which means he's not going to be running his ass down court in transition, trying to get easy buckets for you. I don't know how they're going to figure out this whole dynamic with LeBron and Russell controlling the ball. AD is their best shooter on the team. And I have 3 injury-prone players. I have Russell Westbrook, knee history. I have hamstring issues with LeBron. I have ankle issues. I have AD, the most inconsistently consistent injured superstar outside of Kawhi Leonard. This doesn't work. It doesn't work. It has mess written all over it. Like, I don't know what Lakers fans are expecting. The Lakers fans are turning into Lions fans. They're so fucking delusional. I can't believe it. But, Dennis, what do you think of the move for the Lakers?
Well, I don't think you can put Lions and Lakers in the same sentence. I mean, the Lakers just won a championship 2 years ago, and they're the blue blood of the NBA, so they couldn't be any more opposite. And I think that you're falling. And the one thing about the Lakers is that as long as you have an opinion, it's going to be a hot take. And I think you're on the opposite side, and I think you'll be on the wrong side of this one. I think the Lakers are the favorite to win the NBA championship. Certainly, that's going to make them the favorite out west. You know, LeBron, Durant's a better player. So that Greek Freak, what he did, I'll put him as a better player. But I still think LeBron's in the top 5, and I think AD could be in the top 5 if he could stay out of his street clothes. And just going back to 2 years and what they did when they were in the bubble, one night, if those guys are on, and I think they can be on, yeah, health is an issue. Health is an issue for the Nets.
Well, to go off the bubble, I will say, though, this Russell Westbrook deal helps the Lakers so much, and the fact that they don't need to play AD and LeBron every night, and that's what helped them get to the bubble the NBA Finals during the bubble. Is they had a 2-3 month layoff where AD and LeBron weren't playing. They were just getting healthy.
And I think that's the one thing you got to remember about Westbrook. He's not the number 1 option. He's not the number 2 option. He's not the number 3 option. But you know what? He plays really hard. I don't care about the triple doubles. They're nice to look at, and and people get excited about that. But you know what? The guy is somebody who, when the ball goes up, he's ferocious, even in the regular season. And you know what? Most guys, pound for pound in the NBA, you don't get that. It's load management. It's sitting out. Russell Westbrook will carry them at times through the regular season. And then when he gets to the postseason, I mean, I wanted to be on your side and look at it and say, like, look at all these guys that they brought in here, like from Gasol to Dwight Howard to Bazemore to Ariza
to
the former Pistons,
it's a garage
Wayne
sale.
Ellington.
It's a bunch of old shit.
Right.
That they're
and
trying
Carmelo.
to make work.
They just need 1 or 2 of those guys to hit. Most of those guys are not going to hit.
They need legs.
But they only need 1 or 2. And I think Malik Monk was the underrated signing, a guy that I'm familiar with because my family lives in and around Jonesboro, Arkansas. You don't get an opportunity to jock many players from northeast Arkansas, but Malik Monk is from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I followed his career. I think he'll be an outstanding 6th man for the Lakers, and I think the Lakers are still the favorite. And if I had to put money down on it right now, I would say that they would win the championship next year.
Jeez,
Well,
Nick.
As a free agent, though, you're not going to the Lakers without talking to LeBron James first, right? I think anybody knows that at this point, since the day he went to the Miami Heat, that you're going to know your role, and LeBron's going to let you know what your role of what he's looking for. Russ isn't going to come in here and be the same player that we're used to seeing.
Are we sure? Because I've seen him play with James Harden and Kevin Durant, and then I've seen him play with James Harden, and then I've seen him play with Paul George. I've seen the guy play with Bradley Beal.
Yeah, but those
who
guys
isn't
aren't
probably a superstar. But
those guys aren't LeBron James, though. At the same time, LeBron James has a way of
Can
talking.
we agree LeBron is an all-time great, and he's like one of the best facilitators we've ever seen for his size?
Well, I think he's on Jordan for the 2nd greatest player of all time. So yeah,
I like that. Okay, so I'm going to agree with you there. Number 2. Having said that, what makes LeBron James' team so damn dynamic and good is when you surround him with shooters. Can somebody find me the shooters on this team? It's not Russell.
Yeah, they should have traded for Buddy Hield instead of Russ.
It's not Russell. They should have got Beal. It's not Russ. It's definitely not Melo. Melo's almost 40. Come on. You're not getting prime Melo where he's just going to sit at the perimeter and get you buckets. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but they could have him do that. I mean, if we're
relying on Malik Monk and Wayne Ellington to win LeBron James,
that's who we're relying on.
I mean, it's tough for me to say they're the favorites, but
who's the favorite?
You got to go with Brooklyn if healthy, and then Milwaukee.
No, I'm talking about out west.
Out west, I don't know.
Are we forgetting about Golden State that quickly?
I don't think Golden State's going to compete. I don't think so.
Even with the healthy Clay?
There's so many you don't know. Apparently, Wiseman's got a shitty work ethic. He doesn't listen to Steve Kerr. They tried trading Wiseman for Sadiq Bey. Oh, I'm sorry, for Isaiah Stewart mid-season. It didn't go through, thankfully. Klay Thompson too. Like, the guy's been hurt the last 2 seasons. He's Steph. I'll give him it, but he's not going to take you to the finals by himself. He needs help. Draymond peaking. He's probably on the decline.
Remember, the Lakers will get a buyout. They'll get somebody on a buyout.
I think the Lakers probably
are
probably the first or second favorite to come out of the West. I think the West has declined. But again, Jamal Murray coming back for the Nuggets, that's going to be a big deal. Are the Jazz going to be what we think they should be this season? Like, they underperformed in the playoffs.
I'll take the Lakers over.
We don't
I think it's a 1-2 race. It's not. The Jazz are gonna jazz at the end. Yeah, they play great.
Jazz are gonna jazz.
The Jazz are gonna jazz, but I still think the Nuggets. I'll give you that the Lakers may be the second favorite. I can't put them as the favorites. I don't see that dynamic working. And again, Russell Westbrook is a team obliterator, in my opinion, especially in the postseason. His teams get out pretty quickly, 4 or 5 games on average.
You know what? I think LeBron's watching the show right now. He'd say, you know what, Adam? We'll take the number 2 seed right now. Let's go.
Yeah, take the 2 seed. I mean, again, and we're all banking this that AD, Russ, and LeBron somehow all show up to the playoffs healthy. And that's the problem with Brooklyn. They have the same problem. Yeah, it's a super team. But good luck. You gotta get to the playoffs.
I agree with you that. I mean, you got
So-
10 of the 18 guys on that Lakers roster are 31 or older.
Well,
It's an old-ass team.
I'm going to have to pull a Tom Cruise and risky business.
All right.
I guess it's Illinois. So it's something like that. No, I felt good about when you bring up the Nets because they just put 3 guys together that only played 8 games in the regular season, and I thought they were going to win the NBA title, and they did not. And then Milwaukee, who actually did what is looked at as an outpost in the NBA with a superstar that stayed there, that made me feel good about the Pistons. Like if they would have got bounced and Greek Freak would have said, get me out of here and send me to New York, a couple of years, Cade might have been looking and said, I need to get out of here as well. This was good news for the Pistons, how everything fell last year, and it still feels like heading in, it's good news for the Pistons.
Well,
how does he say it? Risky business.
There's a comment in the chat. It just makes me want to vomit from Matt Doherty. I'm pretty sure is the last name. Russ helped the Wizards get to the playoffs. Keep in mind we're in the Eastern Conference, so I'll continue. Without him, they don't go. Yeah, obviously. I mean, they were a 9th seed without John Wall last season, and Russell Westbrook showed up, and he took them all the way to a 7th seed. My God, what a player! Guys, that's enough basketball talk for now. When we come back from the break, we are going to discuss the Detroit Tigers and what they should be doing this offseason. We'll do it right after the break. We'll see you then.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust-resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Hey, this is Dennis Fithian. When you turn on the TV, you're bombarded by insurance ads promising to save you money. But if you really want the best deal, you need a local agency that knows the local insurance markets. You need our new sponsor, Legacy Partners Insurance. They're independent, so you get lots of quotes and make the carriers compete for your business. They shop between 7 and 10 carriers for personal, but it could be 50 carriers for commercial accounts. They've been doing this since 1919, so you can trust their reputation and knowledge. It's really a no-brainer. If you haven't had your insurance quoted this year, call our buddy Maz today at 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106.
That was impressive. I got to say, that was very impressive. But I'm looking for something more impressive, actually. I'm looking for 2 positions, surefire positions that the Tigers need to address this upcoming offseason. Nick, I'm going to start with you. It's a loaded free agency this year for Major League Baseball. What 2 positions are you upgrading, and what players are you going for?
So this is my meat and potatoes, right? I watch a lot of Tigers games, and I've watched a lot of Tigers games over the last 15 years. So I think we all will agree on the second position that I'll say. But I'll start with the first position, and that's relief pitching. And we've known for years and years that's kind of been our Achilles heel, even when we were making our deep playoff runs. And you see that now, like our starting rotation starting to take form. Hot take, I believe Justin Verlander will be back in a Tigers uniform next year.
I would love that.
I like your hot take.
But I believe you have to shore up that back end of the bullpen in order for us to be successful. Now, I do believe we got some good pieces there. Michael Fulmer, I believe, will be a full-time relief pitcher out of that bullpen. He's looked great so far this year. Shockingly enough, Joe Jimenez in his last few starts has actually looked pretty solid. Tyler Alexander as your long relief guy has been awesome. But I think there's still a few pieces that you need to surround yourself with. And like Adam said, that you've got a lot of pieces available this offseason. Like I look at guys like Andrew Miller. How great fitting would that be to sign a 2-3 year deal at the end of his career, bring him back to Detroit? Trevor Rosenthal, who is so sure-handed in Colorado for all those years, now with Oakland. Joe Kelly, yeah, he's got a club option, but what an entertaining guy that you'd want here. Someone with some personality on that back end. Dylan Betances from New York, hard-throwing reliever out of that bullpen. And then Kenley Jansen. I mean, he's come up big in World Series games. So those are a few names that I'm going to keep my eye on. And then the second spot, like I said, I think we're all going to agree on is you have to get a shortstop. You absolutely have to. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. It's been abysmal.
Is it a consensus on who we're going to select?
I think the favorite right now has to be Carlos Correa, right? And that's, you look at every MLB expert, you look at everybody around town, that's who they're picking because of the relationship with AJ Hinch, which is why I do believe Verlander will be back here in Detroit. But look at these names that you got available at shortstop. You got Trevor Story, you got Corey Seager, Brandon Crawford, who actually might be my favorite between him and Javi Baez. Like, those are all big names. And don't even rule out this one is, if they don't come calling, is Jose Iglesias.
Jeez.
I know that he didn't really end his role here, but this guy is still very, very sure-handed on the defensive side of the ball. He made a play in Cincinnati the other night where he was ranging towards the pitcher mound with his glove, flipped it over with his glove, and they almost turned 2 on it. It's just having someone like that defense. You can hit your 200 or 220 all you want at that 9-8 spot, but you have to be sure-handed at that defensive spot. We've lost numerous games this year because of that.
Dennis, what are you doing this year if this offseason if you're Al Avila? What's your solution?
Well, I think Al Avila's pretty happy right now because Chris Ilitch this week came out and said, here's the bag, and it's a duffel bag, and you can go and do with it what you want. And I'm pleased to announce that the Detroit Tigers will sign Carlos Correa for 8 years and $37.5 million per, which is going to take you, $300 million. That's what it's going to cost to get him. Chris Ilitch said he was forwarded the bag. Here it is. And that's number 1 through 3 options. I think Jonathan Scope, after that, they need a shortstop and they need a second baseman. But if they get Correa and they get Scope, he likes it here. He didn't want to go play for a ring. I know that his agent is a hard liner and wants to get him to free agency, but they're going to have to pay for him. And, the one thing about, I like the idea, you can always use help in the bullpen, strong bullpens to look like, you have success in the postseason. We've seen that certainly over the last 5-10 years. But if you look at the Tigers starters, a lot of people are talking about Scherzer, talking about Verlander, but Boyd and Turnbull, those guys could come back, should be. They're signed. Skubal's on that list.
Skubal just pitched five innings today, no runs allowed against Boston.
Manning's on that list,
Yep.
and so's Mize. That's 5 guys right there. So I'm not sure. Verlander is a nice story, and so would Scherzer be a nice story, but I'm not sure they need him.
I agree to that. But at the same time, too, you've heard rumors and stuff in the past, too, about Matthew Boyd being a trade piece. And granted, his injury right now isn't going to help that. But I think you need someone, maybe somewhere along the lines, maybe this might be a reach of comparison about when Kenny Rogers was traded here and kind of took Bonderman, Robertson, and Verlander kind of in his wing and kind of showed him what Major League pitching was all about. Yeah, would I like to see Verlander here? Absolutely. Who wouldn't? That's a great story, like you said, Dennis. But I think looking at it from the long run, you need someone who has that playoff experience. Matt Boyd doesn't have that. Verlander has that. But I think what you said, you do have to get sure-handed up the middle. And people forget, Jonathan Scope's been in the league for probably close to 10 years now, and he's only 29 years old.
Look, I mean, if I'm Al Avila, and I was just told, we got money, we're willing to invest, here's what I'm doing. I got a top 3 manager in the league right now, and that's AJ Hinch. I got a top quality manager. I got speed at multiple positions. I got base hitters. I need bats. I need runs. Does that mean Torkelson's coming up midway next year? Yeah, yes. That's happening. That's happening.
But
you know what I'm doing?
I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
September call-ups are always right around the corner.
Yeah, they're not going to play him much, though. They're just going to bring him out just for show, and then they're going to keep him so they can leverage his contract midway into next season. So, Torkelson's not going to happen until mid-season, so I'm not even going to focus too much on him. But I need bats. I need hitters. I need home run hitters. I need power. I need guys who can hit for power, who can hit for average, but can also play defense, who have a glove. I'm going for Correa, but I'm also going for Chris Bryant. I'm shelling out almost $500-600 million this offseason to make sure I get 2 legitimate bats. I can go get Rosenthal. I can go get Andrew Miller for 2 years on a decent contract. It's not going to cost me much, but you got to invest in the team. If you want to wait a few years, be my guest. But if it was me, and I really felt good about the team that I have right now, my pitching's young, up and coming. They're starting to find their own rhythm. I'm going for 2 bats. I got to go for 2 bats. I know you got Candelario, but you're playing the AL. You have the DH. I don't give a shit about Mickey. Mickey can be playing next year. Get your 500 and get the hell out of here, please.
He's got to get to 3,000 hits.
just leave.
I just don't see, just with the track record that we've seen, I don't
think it'll happen.
I think he'll sign one, no doubt about it.
I think you get one of them. It's probably going to be Carrera. You have to go for the shortstop. I think Candelario is a good fit. Having said that, you probably got to go with the Rosenthal. You probably got to go with the Andrew Miller. You got to take a young or even a veteran bullpen guy, and you don't address starting pitching. You don't go for Verlander. As much as that sounds great and get people in the stands, like, what is that going to do? You got so much talent in your farm system. You gotta let them out and throw. They gotta throw.
You get the package deal with Verlander too.
Yeah, that's true.
You get Cade Upton.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know what? I track back on everything I said.
I'm
going for Justin Verlander.
I do like the Chris Bryant though, because we've seen what he did with the Cubs. Is he does play all over, so you could throw him out there.
Carrera's got a glove, but Bryant's got a better glove. I think you could easily move Candelario, although he's not that mobile. He doesn't have that kind of range. Shortstop's a hole. Relief pitching is a hole. But yeah, look, next year the Tigers are going to win some games. But if I'm Al Avila and I was told I have $550, $600 million to spend, I'm getting a relief pitcher and I'm getting both of those guys. That's just my cup of tea, but it's all good. I'm not running the Tigers, so thankfully they're not going to be spending that kind of money. But it would fill up the seats, I will say that. When we come back from the break, speaking of someone who's going to fill up the seats, Dan Campbell just can't stop making fire shit. The guy is a quote machine. Every time you put him on a press conference, he says something, it just blows up. I don't know. I don't know what to do with the guy. We'll talk about it after the break. Dan Campbell, quote machine. Press love him, media love him. We'll talk about it next.
Would you like to win a custom-built chopper while helping our veterans at the same time?
Then watch as we turn this bike into a one-of-a-kind classic chopper.
Watch the Call Sam Chopper Shop on our social media channels and get your raffle ticket today at callsam.com/chopper shop.
Why do you cave into peer pressure, Fish? What the hell is that? Yeah, you can take. I already told you can. That's fine. Okay. If I bought you one, would you take it home? As a gift? Oh my God, Fish. You know what? You're annoying, Fish. You know what's more annoying? Dan Campbell's press conferences.
Oh.
I find them very annoying because the people in media are just raving over the guy. But guys, what am I supposed to take away from this? Are you okay with the national attention the Lions are getting from the Dan Campbell press conference? I'll just say it now. I think it's awesome. Actually, I think it's really cool. I think what he's doing is he's changed the culture within the organization. I think it's actually a really good move on his part. He's taken a lot of the attention away from the players. They can just focus on ball. So if they come out and lose by 40, he's going to come out and have some wicked press conference that's just going to change everybody. It's like, oh my God, you hear what Dan Campbell said after the 40-0 loss week 1? Like, I think he's going to be a good coach for them. Whether or not he's a coach that'll win football games is yet to be seen. But I don't know. How do I react to this, Dennis? This guy is a fucking quote machine. Can't stop talking. But people love to complain about it.
Well, you know, the NFL, when you go around training camps, people are looking for the storylines. You say, okay, well, let's go to Detroit. Let's talk about the offensive line and the right tackle. That's not really moving the meter. So you know that they have a new general manager, and you know they have a new head coach. And, yeah, here's a head coach that's up there. And if you hear anybody talk about Dan Campbell, they start talking about kneecaps almost immediately. Everybody. They love that. I liked, you know, he put on the helmet. He got ripped for that a little bit nationally. You know, he was standing up or trying to get involved in the community, talking about the open wheel race downtown. I was all right with that. And, you know, yeah, you know, he's talking about what he does personally going to the office, coming up and, you know, I love coffee myself. I appreciate caffeine intake. Now, I don't know, it was put in the sheet here that it was equivalent of 10 Red Bulls.
10 Red Bulls is what Dan Campbell puts in his goddamn cup every morning. Now, somebody tell me how we're supposed to have long-term success if the fucking coach dies on the field.
10 Red Bulls.
10 Red Bulls in the freaking morning.
You weren't worried about the last one passing out on the field?
I mean, let's not go there.
I'm just saying.
He was passing out for different reasons.
How do you
it was
not,
like 90% body fat.
My thing to you is, how do you not love Dan Campbell right now?
You gotta love
it. It's a culture, right? Like you asked Patricia a question. We're keeping that in house.
I hate to be that guy.
What about this? Keep it in
I'm
house.
sorry, but I hate to be that guy. I love the antics. I love the pressers. I think it's really cool. I think it's engaging. But fuck you. 60 years of losing. Fuck you and. You know what? I don't want to swear at the. I am. Fuck the organization too. 60 years of losing.
Yeah, but that's not Dan Campbell's fault.
I don't care. I don't care. He has 0 wins. We'll see what he does when he gets out on the football field. The roster isn't good. Like I just want to enjoy my football season. I'm not asking for much. I don't want all these distractions. I don't want Dan Campbell in the fucking media. All I want to see is Dan Campbell make good coaching decisions. I want him to field 11 players, and hell. I don't want to see good football. I want to see our young talent progress. We're not going to win this year.
But you already said yourself you're not expecting good football. So that's not going to be his fault.
I'm not judging him on that though. That's the thing is I'm not judging Dan Campbell. If he goes 3-14, I'm not going to hold a pitchfork and say fire Dan Campbell. Like I'm expecting them to lose that many games. But I'm sorry, the team isn't good. Like the fact that we have people raving that they're going to go 10-7 because the guy gets along with this team. I'm sorry. Last I checked, successful companies work when you have good working relationships. So yeah, that's kind of like a fucking standard that Dan Campbell gets along with everybody. And considering they're coming off of Matt Patricia, who all he did was eat McDonald's at practice and drive a 4-wheeler and talk so down to everybody, of course they're going to get better. There's nothing but up because how bad the Lions were and how bad they have been.
Right, so that's why Art's getting fired up. That's why I'm getting fired up. Yeah, it may be a trying year this year. But you don't have Matt Patricia back coaching this football team. You got a guy that is all fired up to be here.
I'm glad he's fired up to be here. I'm fired up to be a Detroit Lions supporter, but at the same time, I've been delivered shit.
He said it
for
himself
60
though.
years.
He goes, I like to have fun in the preseason. I like to have fun.
Great.
He's gonna I fully believe
you know what's fun? Winning football games, winning playoff games.
And we know that. So does he. He knows that's what's gonna really be the testament of his job.
Of course.
But if he's gonna have fun leading up to that week 1, I'm all in, baby. Let's do it.
I don't know. I've never seen in the history of football, and maybe he's a pioneer, but I don't see it because there's been many people like him that have tried what he's trying to do right now. Come in, rah rah. Hey guys, we're gonna have a ball. We're gonna win.
How many guys have tried Bill Belichick's way?
Well, again, he made it work. Again, I've seen a lot of people be rah rah, excitement. We're gonna change the culture. We're gonna bring all this shit, guys. I can't listen to it because I want to give him a fair chance and be like, you know what, Dan, if you win 4 or 5 games, I'm going to consider that a win for us this year. And if you follow that up with 8, 9, man, I really get behind you. And then you follow it up and you start actually competing for the division, something we haven't done, I don't know, all my fucking life. You know what? I'd consider that a pretty damn good 3-4 year stretch for the guy.
Well, I listen to you, and mostly, you've talked about giving Dan Campbell a break, and, you think the Lions are only going to win 4 or 5 games, and that's going to be okay. But you can't be, and there's nothing wrong with this. There's a lot of people that are like you, Adam. There are a lot of people that are really negative towards the Lions. And I think the people that you need to talk with are Fish, and you need to talk, if you're really positive about the Lions and Dan Campbell right now, they've got their first 5 games. If you go to 6 games, you can really make a case for this team starting out 1-5. Beating San Francisco, going to Green Bay, going on the road for both. Or then you got to play Baltimore. You're looking at 2 road division games. It's a reality.
That's the thing.
That this
I'm not trying
team
to be
could
negative.
start, but you are just by your tone. But the guys that we need to know about.
It's
well, that's
reality.
fine, and
it's
that's
not
fine.
negativity.
But the guys that you need to, you're still going to have the enthusiasm up to your kneecaps. The rest of these guys, if they start out 0-4 or 0-5, to me, that's the test. Because you know what, you're looking at them straightforward. And you're saying, I've watched this team.
I'm looking into the future.
I see what they're all about, and you understand that this year's a developmental year.
It is.
Everybody else, you're getting excited because it's the Lions, and let's get all fired up. Dan Campbell's talking about
development for the team.
Yeah, but what's not like this team has 0 expectations. We agree to that, right?
What do you mean, this guy over here?
But that's what makes it. That's what makes it fun, though.
It's not fun. It's not fun. You know why? Because 9-7 was considered fun here, and I don't accept that.
But I think you can look at Art. If you look at Art right now and say, "Hey, Art, if the Lions go 3-14 this year, are you going to be surprised?"
Are you, Art?
No.
You're not going to be up in arms that Dan Campbell was 3-14?
Listen,
The same guy you're putting 10-7 expectations
I'd
on?
rather go into the expectations and all that and all the hoopla that Dan Campbell shouldn't be drinking coffee and having fun. He should be fucking quiet and have 15
That's
pencils
not what
in
I
his
said,
ear.
though.
Put 15 pencils in his ear, get him 4 four-wheelers, and tell him to shut the fuck up. No, it's about having fun. You got a guy who brought in culture, who brought in fun. We would not be giving a single fuck about the Lions if it wasn't for people like Dan Campbell
No,
and
people
Jamal
always
Williams.
give a fuck about the Lions.
And
And
I
every
understand that.
single offseason, they walk into the season like, all right, you know what? I can see the future. We're going to be good this year. We're going to progress. We're going to get better. Look, year one, Dan Campbell, you win 5 games. I am happy.
We have a Super Bowl fucking quarterback.
You are fucking
Yes,
delusional.
we
We have Jamal Williams, who's fucking excited and ready to
Trent
play.
Dilfer is a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
We've got Frank Ragnow. We got Penny Sewell, who, oh my gosh, he's new, so we all should be scared. He's never picked up a
What do
football
you mean?
before.
Yeah,
Get
he's not
outta
supposed
here.
to pick up a football. He's supposed to protect the
No, what I'm
quarterback.
saying- Okay, he's
and-
never played the game of football.
No,
we
I'm
drafted
not
him for a
knocking
fucking
Penny Sewell. I
reason.
think that was a great draft pick. I'm not about hyping up Dan Campbell year one. I think you got to
Let me say one thing though. I will 100% agree with Dennis. I think we should have picked Justin Fields. And
No.
No? Well, that's your opinion,
No,
and it
you,
sucks.
you
Anyway,
hauled,
I think we
you
should have
hauled
picked
2
up...
first-round picks and a transition quarterback. If the Bears would have traded up, I think you should have. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
But
No,
regardless-
you don't take Fields at 7 if you're
Regardless,
the Lions.
what does
You have
it
4
hurt- what
first-round
does it
picks in the
hurt,
next
though?
2 seasons.
What does it hurt though for fans to get excited and have high expectations?
He would fail in Detroit.
Let me
He
be
would have
hurt.
failed. He's throwing to nobodies. Jared Goff is going to throw to nobodies.
I'm not going to sit here though if they're 0-4 or 1-4 after 5 games and go fuck the Lions, man. Blah blah blah. I'm still going to have hope. Let me have hope.
How? You just said you want them to win 10-7
Because
based
there's
on your
17
expectations.
games,
It's a
they go
failure.
1-5. Guess how many games are left still?
They're going to win
They
9
could go
of their
on a
last
streak.
Yes,
They're
they
gonna win
are,
9 out
Adam.
of
They're
their
gonna
last
go
11.
9-0.
You guys are fucking crazy. Listen, at the end of the day,
Watch when it
at
happens.
the end of the day, the Lions are not a good football team. I think Dan Campbell has changed the culture in a good way, which I think could lead to wins down the line. It's not going to happen year 1. Probably won't happen year 2.
Can we get you to do something crazy if they do win over 6 games this year?
Get run over by the limo.
7? Like, what's
Let's
the
say-
accomplishment
Well,
here?
you're saying they're not going to win more
I
than 6
think
games,
anywhere from
right?
3 to 6 games is
3 to
realistic.
6. They're not going to win more than 6, right?
Okay.
All right. So let's say they win
7?
7 games.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
I want
We
you.
won 7 games.
I want you to come
Bring
in
back
here.
Jim Caldwell and Matt
No, no, no,
Patricia,
no,
and
no.
I'll apologize
No,
to everybody.
That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying I want you if the Lions come in and win 7 or more games this year, I want you to come in
And-
when you host another show to do it without a shirt on.
Okay, no,
You gotta go
look,
full
if
Joey
the
out
Lions
here.
win 7 games, I'll be very upfront. I will be impressed. That is a hell of a coaching job by
Without a
Dan Campbell.
shirt, right?
If they win 7
Yep.
games. Considering they have the 6th hardest schedule, I'd be very impressed. But I'm also not going to shoot the guy in the fucking foot and tell him, hey, I'm expecting 10 wins, 8, 9 wins, hell, even 7 wins year 1.
Wait, hang
because
on.
the team is awful, downgraded at linebacker, downgraded at safety, downgraded at wide receiver. You don't even know if they improved that quarterback. I don't even know where to start with you guys.
Did you say this? Vinny says Adam already said
That
he
was
is
for
paying
Pilar.
Pilar's
She said
mortgage
10 games.
if
My
they win-
agreement with Pilar was if they won 10 games, I'd pay off her mortgage, not 7.
You know, each and every year I'm in on
But
the
10 and
fans.
7 is our record.
Yeah, and I'm in on fan enthusiasm and fans being down on them and the rivalry back and forth. Like, you're too optimistic, you're too negative, back and forth. Let's see what happens for the first game. I think I'm used to that each and every August, that coming out. But, for me, I think when you have a new coach, there's going to be that optimism that maybe you do have the right guy. But I think the Lions told us that this year was going to be a developmental year. They gave Dan Campbell an extra season. So you say, what's realistic? I hope Penei Sewell, when you see him out there, you're like, wow, man, this guy looks like he could be a bookend tackle for 10 years. You see Jeff Okudah take a huge step forward. Maybe you look at some of these rookies that they drafted. I already saw this week. There
I'm
was
on State Raw. You have your D-tackles.
Elite McNeil.
Yep.
Dave Burkett wrote that, hey, maybe he's a steal.
Am I
You're
crazy?
right.
Am I crazy to say, Dennis and Nick? Am I crazy to say? I find this, even if we go 2-15, that if the offensive line was ranked in the top 10, Jeff Okudah improved. We could make more open field tackles. We had a higher defensive efficiency rating, which I think is a given considering how shit they were under Matt Patricia. Our offense runs the ball. We're a top 15 running game. Like, if I just look for those bits, I could walk out of the season happy.
Well,
I don't care about the win-loss record.
Well, look, I relate this back to the NBA Pistons season that we just watched.
A perfect tank job.
You look at that team. Yeah, they didn't win a lot of games, But I honestly can sit here and say that was one of the most fun seasons I've watched in close to 10 years.
And I got paid off at the end with the number 1 pick. And for the Lions, if they are only winning 2 games and you see some of that development that we talked about, and hey, they could have the number 1 pick. And then you have to come back to Goff and you say, hey, is this really going to be the guy that we want to be the leader here in Detroit? Or should they go to Spencer Rattler or Howell for North Carolina, that they would have one of those top selections? I mean, you only win 2 games. You're going to be in the running for a number 1 pick. And to Nick's point, we learned there's a lot of people like, I'm tired of tanking. I want to win. I don't go in. It's the NFL. You saw what happened with the Pistons. And I think a lot of Lion fans.
Are you confident in Brett Holmes? I'm just going to yes or no question. Are you confident in Brett Holmes?
So far, yeah, I am.
Are you confident in Brett Holmes?
Yep.
I'll give him a thumbs up so far. Although I think the most important decision you make as a GM is what? The head coach.
Quarterback.
Head coach. Quarterback, he hasn't made that decision yet. He finessed 2 picks. I feel like he hasn't even made that decision yet.
Well, I think a lot of times with the head coach, you can bounce him out of there, and with a quarterback, you're tied to him. But you know what? 1A.
Well,
I think the quarterback's
what was
more
Bob
important.
Quinn's downfall? And what was everybody prior? You never got the head coach right. And that applies to around the league. You saw Jeff Fisher get booted out. You bring in the right coach. Boom, you're in the Super Bowl 2 years later. You look at Matt LaFleur. Got McCarthy out of there. Boom. Back-to-back NFC championships. I feel like if you're a GM, you should be. If you have the opportunity to select a quarterback, that is how you're judged. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I feel like in college, it's the head coach, and it's more important for the quarterback and the pros. That's how I always.
Fair enough. Agreed. Fair enough. Well, we got a fun game we're going to play. It's going to be buy or sell, and we're going to do that right after we come back from the break. But before I go, Art, I'm going to ask you to put the camera on you. I want to ask you a serious question before we go to break. Oh, God, I know.
Yes, Adam.
All right, Art.
Yes.
If Dan Campbell wins 10 games, what can I do for you?
You could give me $1,000 for every game. That's what you could do.
Okay, we'll agree on that.
You have a money tree. First, it's Pilar's house. Now it's $10,000 for me.
Yeah, I have undisclosed things.
Have you seen him betting?
I'll kick in a couple bucks too. I can't say $1,000 per game, but if they get 10 wins, I'll kick in some.
All right. Well, when we get back, we're going to play a fun game of buy or sell. It involves the Detroit Lions, Miguel Cabrera, the Los Angeles Lakers, Detroit Pistons, and some Olympics. So I can't wait. We're going to have fun right after the break.
Welcome to the newest Bridge Street Exchange, not only in downtown Fenton, now in the Somerset Collection. Located on the 2nd level, south side, right next to Lululemon and Starbucks. This is where you can get all the hottest barware, or men's grooming products, or clothing, or... Oh, that's what you meant. Don't forget they got some cool hats too, and it's a lot of great local Michigan-owned companies that you're supporting.
And don't forget, all under $3.
You're such a loser. But for real, take advantage. 15% off if you come in here. Tell Kevin that Woodward Sports sent you. Or stop!
Let's have a little fun and play a nice little segment called Buy or Sell. Nick Leach, I am going to start with you. Are you buying or selling? The Detroit Lions will make the playoffs year 1 under Matt.
Of course, the
Dan
fan.
Campbell.
Whoa.
Yeah, we had a side conversation that kind of threw me off.
The fan in me obviously wants to buy every single piece that I can, right?
Well, that's why you're not an investor.
Realistically thinking, you have to sell. I mean, like I said, you got Aaron Rodgers in the NFC North. You got a Minnesota team who I think is better than the Lions organization. I have to sell on this. I think Aaron Rodgers is coming out with some sort of vengeance this year to prove to his own organization that they never should have drafted a quarterback 2 years ago.
Sell, 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 sell. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say it. Sell that shit. It's Art. Sell. Sell! It's not going to happen. They're not making the fucking playoffs year 1.
Okay.
Dennis.
Can you ask me the question?
Buy or sell. Will the Detroit Lions make the playoffs in Dan Campbell's first season?
Playoffs? Playoffs? No, I don't think the Lions are going to make the playoffs, but I'm looking at this season like I've not looked at any Lions season previous. There's been hope. There have been Lion fans that have told you, like, hey, anything can happen. I think the Lions have come in and they have told everybody, and if you really are paying attention, you realize that this is a season that they're going in and they're playing the long game. Dan Campbell said they're playing the long game. Brad Hunt said, yeah, we're not calling this. He didn't like the word retool. He talked. Everything that they have done, they have indicated that they're not going in here and making promises about anything can happen and all of this. So I look at this, those small gains from individual players. You're looking at cap space, and you're looking at a high draft pick, and you go in and be happy about it. But all of that being said, yeah, that means I am selling on the playoffs.
Smart men up here right now. Buy or sell Dan Campbell, that he actually drinks that much coffee in the morning, equivalent to 10 Red Bulls. Somebody, Dennis, buy or sell. There's no fucking way.
I'm buying, but man, I don't know how much longer that you can go about it that way. I love coffee myself, but I would go for one of those and maybe a shot in there. And if I did two, I think I'd be getting some gin. To go back to back and try that before noon or before 9 a.m.
The amount of food he has to pummel to even help his body react to that amount of caffeine is unreal.
You don't think he does that?
I'm buying. He looks like a crackhead. I really like Dan Campbell. I think he's so far done a pretty good job changing the culture, doing everything well for the Lions. Great for press, great for media. I mean, it's been a joy, but I gotta buy it. Guy is freaking wired. Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Did you like the impersonation from Caliendo? Yeah.
He's done better. His John Gruden is so good.
Yeah.
I don't think he has that voice to pull it off.
I haven't heard anybody do a Dan Campbell yet.
He
so.
talks.
Has anybody tried?
And he wasn't excited enough though either. Too.
No.
It was like way too monotone.
And he didn't say he tried to work the kneecaps in there and the coffee,
tough.
but
yeah,
it's tough.
I think
there's voice.
I think there's a better Campbell.
Well, the only reason he did it too is because the video that was actually shot by our own Corey Woods blew up all over the internet. So and people were just looking for content, so that's where he went. But I didn't think it was that good, to be honest with you.
All right, so you're selling.
No, I'm buying that.
Oh,
Campbell.
all right. So all right,
I've seen firsthand. My boss that I work for at the golf course will drink 2 big iced coffees a day, then follow up by 3 or 4 monsters in the afternoon. So I've seen it done, and Dan Campbell's a lot bigger than he is. Wow. So I'm full in buying.
I guess when you're that big, you need that kind of. I gotta buy it just based off of his press conference. But the next one, buy or sell the Los Angeles Lakers, who you had brought up earlier. They will be the Western Conference champions this upcoming season. Dennis, I'll start with you because you already brought it up earlier.
Yeah, I think they're the favorite in the East when you look at it. The back half of that roster, I mean, there's hot takes to be made everywhere when you look at the Lakers, but they're always like that. LeBron James, you can't just wade in and say, yeah, I think he's pretty good. You either hate him or call him LeBrick, or you think that, he's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, the LeBrick thing never made sense to me. He's actually developed a three-point and mid-range game, which I thought was pretty impressive for a guy who really couldn't shoot early on in his career.
If we've seen anything in the NBA over however long we've been watching it, we know that a player or two
is enough.
Superstar, it can take you the distance.
Yeah,
and
well,
we
him
just
and
saw
AD
it with
proved
this team.
Yeah,
right,
him and AD already proved it.
I'm buying.
All right, he's buying the bullshit. Nick, buy or sell Lakers Western Conference champions?
I'm selling.
Oh,
like I said earlier, I think there's not enough respect given to the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. It's right, all dependent if those guys stay healthy, right? I think they're going to come back this year, and they're going to be looking to make a deep run. And I think you also got a very competitive Nuggets team there, but you just flipped almost your entire roster. There's going to be growing pains there, and we saw it this year with them when they lost a few key pieces like Rajon Rondo and a few other names, but I don't see how you can continue to flip roster after roster and expect to go out and win a Western Conference.
Although I'm going to sell, there are still a few free agents that have yet to sign anywhere that I think will change the odds. And if I can get the Lakers anywhere near the plus 1,000, I think it's worth a bet. I do think they're going to get to the conference title game. I think Russell Westbrook will help them stay healthy throughout the regular season so they can rest AD and LeBron. Having said that, I got to sell. I don't think they do it. I think LeBron has seen his last NBA Finals. I don't see him getting back. And even if they do get back, I don't see them winning. But the question is, Western Conference champions, I'm going to sell. I'm going to do a hard sell on that. The Pistons, buy or sell, will be contending from anywhere from the number 4 to the number 6 seed this upcoming season in Cade Cunningham's rookie season.
Well, I would love to buy that, but I don't have my sunglasses anymore, so I can't say that I'm all in on the Pistons. I mean, I'm all in. on the Pistons. But I think if you're talking about being a top 6 team, when you just look at what the Bulls and the Heat did, you can say, hey, I love Detroit and I'm all in. I love the rap music, but let's not be crazy. Do I think that they can be viable for the play-in game? Play-in? Yeah, I think the play-in, 33 games, if I look at the 10 seed and both, what was it, the Pacers and the Spurs in the West and East last year, I currently, in my own model, which is just predicting the Pistons, I think they're going to win 34 games, which is going to get them the 9 seed in the Eastern Conference, which will be good for the play-in game.
Well, the buy or sell is from 4 to 6. And
So,
I typically never... I never put those kind of expectations on a rebuilding team. But I think Dwayne Casey's onto something here, along with Troy Weaver. But I mean from a development standpoint of the players. I think with Cade Cunningham, Detroit could push for 39 to 42 wins this season. And I think they're going to be a 7 or 8 seed. Minimum. I think they showed they could play fundamentally good basketball. They've improved across the board. Give me those goddamn Bucks. I'll put them on.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win anywhere from 39 to 42 games. I usually never do this. It's so rare. I usually go really, far less on my expectations. But I'm going to buy. If Cade, Killian, everybody stays healthy across the board, I like the Olynyk pickup. I think this team in the Eastern Conference can win 40 to 42 games. I got to buy it. Nick?
You kidding me? I'm buying. I mean, you look at that team last year, and I didn't look this up before, but I'm pretty sure they had the most single-digit point losses last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring in a guy like, I expect Jeremy Grant to come out and have the season like he did last year. I don't think that was a fluke by any means. And then now you add a guy like Cade that can play off the ball a little bit with Killian running the point. I think you got something special that could be here. The East isn't that scary. Yeah, you talked about Milwaukee. Yeah, you talked about Brooklyn.
Toronto just lost Kyle Lowry.
And I don't think Chicago is as...
Chicago, no.
People
they're
are talking
continue
Chicago
to be shit.
up like they're
They
this
got
big
Zach
bag deal.
Levine, Lonzo Ball. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. The East isn't that scary to begin with. So, yeah, I do see this team competing for potentially... Now, I'm thinking they're right around maybe the 6th spot. I don't see them all the way up till 4. But I'm kind of with Dennis here, too. It's right around that 6 to... I think it could be anywhere from 6 to the playing game. I'm not afraid to say that. I'll probably throw some good money on that as well.
I think 6 is very realistic for the Pistons. Dwayne Casey has proven in his career, very solid regular season coach. He has experience coaching in the East. I think this team can win 40 to 42 games. It's really not that far away from them. Jeremy Grant is going to be a huge factor in that. I think, again, he's surrounded by very good players. What's up, Dennis?
I was going to say the one thing you have to do, it sounds good, and I'll tell you, it's a lot more fun to be optimistic and say, yeah, top 6. But then you just start ticking off the teams in the Eastern Conference.
Nets, Milwaukee.
Sixers. I would put the Heat there and the Bulls from what they just did.
The Heat for sure, I wouldn't put the Bulls. That's 4. I'll give you the first 4 100% any day of the week.
With the Pacers.
I think the Pacers are off. It's still Oladipo's gone. I think...
he just re-signed, didn't he?
No, he's with the Heat now.
Oh, yeah, he did sign with the Heat.
Picked up to the Heat. I think the Heat are for real. You know what you're going to get from Brooklyn, those top 4 teams, but from 5 to 9, even 10, Wizards are going to be garbage. They were a playing team.
I agree with that.
The Bulls? What? A bunch of guys who have proven nothing? They don't have a superstar.
They've all been outcasted by how many teams now?
I don't know. I'm not going to fall in love with the Bulls. I'm not going to fall in love with the Hornets, although I think LaMelo Ball is going to have a really good sophomore season. I could see the Pistons winning. Maybe the 6th seed this season is probably 37 wins, 36 wins. It's the East. You don't know, and that's why I put it between 4 and 6, because...
What about the Hawks?
The Hawks, I think, regress. They signed Collins on a 5-year, $125 million deal. I think they regress. They're probably a 5, 6 seed. Again, it wouldn't surprise me. You add Killian, you have a Killian Hayes healthy all season. You have Cade Cunningham, Jeremy Grant. It's such an interesting lineup that outside of the Bucks and the Sixers, no team is really built to compete with that small of a lineup. No team, even Brooklyn. It's kind of limited. You don't have all these defenders. I think if the Pistons were in the West, we'd be talking 10, 9 seed maybe if they're lucky. They're in the East.
I gotta say, real quick, Trae Young, another day, another opportunity. Go Hawks. There we go.
What?
Go Hawks.
Are you serious?
Art's a big Trae Young guy
Yeah,
now.
yo, Trae Young's
So
the
am I.
man. How dare you?
I'm not saying he's not the man, but what the hell was...
That was me. That was a hawk.
Yeah,
Sounds like
the
more of a
Hawks.
pterodactyl, but we'll work on it.
And what do the Lions sound? Because they're going to go 10-7?
To go back to reality, I think they really just peaked as a team. At
Yeah,
the
but
right time.
they found themselves a guy that you could call a superstar.
For sure. Can
The
develop
Pistons,
into
it's
one.
hard to say that Cade Cunningham's going to go in
Well,
and
you're
walk
making
right
these-
in and be a superstar.
Well, not a superstar anytime. Superstars typically in the NBA take, 5 to 7 years to develop?
Well,
so
he better, number one, it could take 3 years.
Ideally.
Cade Cunningham
Ideally.
better be a superstar quicker than that.
Yeah, so,
Agreed.
well, we've seen with Giannis. He developed into an MVP
It
year
took
7.
a few years.
So.
He was the number 15 pick, so it was a little different there, too.
True there. But typically across the board, Steph Curry, granted at 9. Like, so many of these guys don't develop till year 4, 5, 6, 7. But regardless, we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up with a fun segment about all of the Detroit sports teams, and we'll do that right after the break.
Do you know why realtors love using Hall Financial as a lender? Because of our commitment to speed and service. We have nearly 4,000 5-star reviews already. Call today, 248-308-5000, or go to callhallfirst.com.
Back to the hook on the Woodward Sports Network. I am joined by Nick Leach and Dennis Fithian. Thank you guys for a really fun show so far. We're going to kick this off, and we got to recap this entire show with a Detroit sports segment about these 4 teams. Guys, which one is most likely to find success in the near future to be competing and contending in their respective sport? Nick Leach, I'm going to start with you.
So are we talking about
We're talking
winning
about
a
the
championship or just winning a playoff
contending.
series?
No, contending. We're talking almost there or even getting there. Is it the Pistons, the Tigers, the Red Wings, the Lions?
Well,
Who's it got to be?
Unfortunately, I think the Red Wings are probably the furthest away. I do believe in what Stevie Y is doing, but NHL players take a longer time to develop. Do I want to sit here and say the Lions? Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. But we kind of just talked about it. Is I think Pistons taking Cade number 1 overall. Yeah, will they make a playoff spot? Yeah, they may make a playoff spot. But I think we all can agree here. We've watched enough sports that just because you make the playoffs in the NBA doesn't really mean you're competitive. It's not the same of making the playoffs in the NFL or MLB or anything like that. But I think my pick, honestly, has to go with the Detroit Tigers. And watching what they've done since May 8th, I believe they're now close to like 44-33 or something like that since May 8th. And I think if Avila gets to go ahead to spend some money this offseason, that team for sure becomes a playoff team next year.
You couldn't have told me last season that walking in that the Tigers would be closest. And I can't believe I'm saying this because I am a harsh critic on Al Avila because he is a dipshit. But you go out and get Carlos Correa. You've addressed your bullpen. The Lions aren't competing next season. Pistons probably aren't competing in the East. They're not getting past Milwaukee. They're not getting past Atlanta. They're not getting past Brooklyn. The Red Wings, so much talent in the system, but not there yet. I can't believe the Tigers are closest. I actually have to agree.
Yeah,
and I can't believe I want to throw up saying that.
And they've been extremely competitive.
You consider the potential offseason moves, and I believe AJ Hinch is a top 3 manager in the game right now.
He may be the best manager in baseball,
arguably. You got pieces in Detroit. They're not far off. It is a little bit young, but we're talking who's closest. I could see Detroit winning a wild card game and getting into the ALDS.
And that makes you competitive in baseball, too. Like,
yeah.
You make it to the playoffs in baseball after 162 games, you're competitive.
I can't believe I'm saying it. I kind of want to punch myself in the face. I'm not.
You know, it's a fascinating question because if you're just looking at the sports, like the quickest sport out of the 4 we're talking about to turn things around is the NFL.
Yeah.
You have a great draft. You have a great free agency. I don't think they're going to win 10 games like the guys here.
You have a great head coach. You got that. You have a
right.
quarterback.
If you have all those things, I mean,
Yeah.
you could make the case. I mean, we've seen teams turn it around quickly in the NFL, but I'm not going there with the Lions. The one thing about the NHL is that if you just make the playoffs, we have seen 7 and 8 seeds before go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, so you have more of a chance to advance. But then you're saying, well, you're kind of rolling the dice here, saying, hey, if the Wings get in, they have a chance, although that is true. So to me, it is coming down to the Pistons and Tigers, and I can't buy in on the Tigers, even though I just did hear this week Chris Ilitch, say he's going to take the checkbook, and here it is. It's a blank checkbook. I'm going to have to wait to see those signings. It is encouraging when you have A.J. Hinch, though. I'll give you that. And the young rotation from what we've seen and the guys that are coming up, it is promising. It is exciting. But I am still going to go with the Pistons. One player, how they can turn, and even though I think they're just going to win 34 games next year, if you hit, you look down, we just talked about Trae Young. What was it? Ice Trae, what he was able to do this year. Luka with the Mavs. You get the star player, you get the superstar, and what it can do and where it can position you. And just what Troy Weaver has done here, not next year, but I think as soon as the following year, I would put my money on the Pistons, but I'm waiting just to see here in the offseason. I'm encouraged. What Avila might do. I will say,
Dennis, I do agree with you to an extent. Why I took the Tigers over the Pistons was, even if Cade is what we hope and think he is, you're not going to have a contending team in the East for another 3, maybe 4 years. And when I say contending, I'm talking an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, on the cusp of getting to an NBA Finals. With the Tigers, again, barring the offseason moves and your young guys turning out well, like it fucking drives me nuts because I was nothing but furious with the Tigers this past offseason. They could do it. They actually could. And that really goes to show what A.J. Hinch has done.
Well, I think
go ahead.
I think you look at that roster too. It's like you have 4 guys right now that could potentially be a candidate for Rookie of the Year. And then I go back to looking at next year, and you've got maybe 3, maybe 4 might be a stretch, but you got 3 pitchers that could ultimately be up for a Cy Young award if they turn out to be what we expect them to be, between Mize, Skubal, and I'm not going to say Manning, but I think Turnbull has that type of skill to do that as well.
Again, I'm stumped.
I just feel like this year in the NBA, what we saw, everybody thought it was going to be the Nets and the Lakers, and it just, now that you have all these different teams, you have 6 teams just going into next year that you're looking on both sides. It's never been like this in NBA history for as long as have been watching. I don't think there's as many superstars, or you've had as much parity here. And now the Pistons getting it. The way the Hawks made the run with one guy, it's get out of the way. Do you have a facilitator and somebody that can score there? And maybe the Pistons have that guy. Maybe they do.
I think, look, when you select first overall in the NBA, you change your franchise for the next 10 to 15 years. It's a guarantee most of the time, unless you draft Anthony Bennett. Having said that, it's a really good debate, actually. I'm kind of leaning between Tigers and Pistons. It's very difficult. I don't think the lines are anywhere near it.
I think...
But I will say, if we were to fast forward 3 years, I would be willing to bet that all 4 teams would be potential playoff contenders.
Yeah, I'd say we're out of the trough now, right? I mean,
I think in 3 years, Detroit sports will be back to a respectable level where you have all the teams putting on a show.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, maybe 4 or 5, 6 years ago that we were voted the best sports town in the entire world.
Coming off peak Tigers, peak Wings, a lot of things played into that.
Right, and it's just awesome. It's a matter of time before we get back there. And that's what,
Cade helps.
Someone in the comments said, it's sad that Detroit fans can't even be excited anymore without being called stupid.
Well, the Art is stupid because he's delusional. It's not because he's excited. I wouldn't mind if he was excited and was really, I'm excited to watch the Lions this year. I am so excited. I love to watch Lions football. Having said that, I'm not going to say they're going to win 10 games because that would just make me an idiot.
Yeah, but I think the difference here is Art's rooting for them to win 10 games, not expecting them to win 10 games, though.
That's, when you expect is when you put up a limo. So I can't agree with you there. Sorry.
I think a good way to do it is just put your emotion and your expectations into the first game, because San Francisco is a team that could win the Super Bowl. They just got there 2 years ago. They had a lot of injuries. They're a 7.5-point favorite over the Lions. Lions could go in there and shock San Francisco in week 1. Then you're thinking,
which they will.
If the Lions want to do San Francisco 49ers fans a favor, they show up week 1 and they beat the Niners. I'll tell you what.
Which they will.
I know why.
They bench Jimmy G, and they get a guy that everybody coming out of camp right now is reporting on Trey Lance. The guy is throwing freaking darts. lasers, reading coverages. Guy is everything they didn't even think he was. They are so excited about Trey Lance. So I think the Lions could do the 49ers a favor and beat them week 1.
Does Trey Lance, I don't think he starts, but do you think he plays week 1?
In a package. I mean, if they kick the Lions' ass, he'll probably play the fourth quarter, but that's about it. I don't know. Jimmy G, as a proven regular season starter, he wins football games. It's a good team, Super Bowl roster.
Oh.
I don't know.
Jared Goff.
No.
Super Bowl competitor.
Yeah, 3 points in the
playoff
3
wins.
points in the Super Bowl. My nuts could have played better in the Super Bowl against the Patriots than Jared Goff. Having said that, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Dennis, it was a pleasure. Nick, a pleasure. Thank you so much. Fish, thanks for figuring out how to turn on your light. Art, thanks for being a delusional jackass. We appreciate you. Love you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. It'll be Dennis and I tomorrow. So that'll be a little fun. Nick, we'll see you tomorrow on the midday show with Easy.
Yep.
So
check it out.
We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. We have the esports show tonight airing at 10 o'clock. Don't miss out. And we'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks so much for joining in.